Faces dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It is a Wednesday. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday. And we've got some interesting things to discuss today. There are not really any updates when it comes to Hector David Martinez, but we'll fill you in on where things stand. There are some updates on Eric Remedi. There's a big beyond update news on Franco Escobar. You've probably seen it. We'll talk about all of those things from an Atlanta United perspective. We'll look around MLS and start to get ready for preseason camps, which may or may not start next week. We haven't really heard that they are. They were supposed to originally, but there had been some reporting after the CBA was done that everything could get pushed back a week or two, I think was generally where Stephen Goff and others were. When you're talking about the potential need for quarantines coming into camp, it makes sense. If you weren't able to prepare for those because you didn't know what was going to happen because of the CBA, and now you've got to prepare for that coming in, maybe that pushes it back 5 to 10 days. I don't know what the quarantine period is going to be. But we're waiting on updates there. We're also waiting on other updates around the league in terms of signings. We'll get into all that. We'll get into FA Cup. We'll get into Real Madrid has yet another injury. They are going to be down to 5 senior squad players here pretty soon. We'll talk about that. You've got games today, some interesting ones around the world. We've got an update 5 weeks into Liga MX. We'll talk about how things stand there since, look, I think we're going to have to start paying a lot more attention to Liga MX with MLS and Liga MX working together and a Liga MX side in the Club World Cup final tomorrow. We'll talk about that. Concacaf Champions League draw is tonight. People want to know where they can watch. We'll try to figure it out. It shouldn't be this hard, but anyway, it is because it was last time too, and we'll do our best to sort through this with you guys this morning. We'll also be taking your questions throughout the show because that's what a Wall Pass Wednesday is. So y'all have questions. We probably don't have answers, but we might be able to fake it. Is that fair? We'll do the best we can, but tweet them at us at Soccer Down Here. Send us an email, soccerdownhere@gmail.com, or you can join us on the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/Soccer Down Here. It really doesn't get the usual musical intro, John, but since this has just kind of become your segment, and I think we probably need to start the show with it because I'm assuming you have not had any other caffeine this morning.
True.
It's a tired dance from John.
It is.
Because he's had no caffeine. Did you get your car tag sorted out?
Thank the baby Jesus, yes.
Well, that's good.
Only 2.5 hours in the office, though, and multiple entrances and exits.
Well, that's good.
Ugh. So the big dog is street legal.
So, Don, what are you doing this morning?
Hey, I bought this.
Oh, no. If the show goes off the rails later, this is why. I apologize.
All right. So, as promised, after you and many others were calling me out over the notion of this new melon Mountain Dew.
I think it was over the notion of you pitching a hissy fit about said new Mountain Dew.
Sacrilege. So yesterday when I went out, and traditionally Tuesdays are the day that I go out and I'll do my 2 miles. I'll go out into the neighborhood and just get circulation going. Tried to find a store that had this melon Mountain Dew abomination.
It shouldn't be that hard to find, should it?
It was, actually.
I tried to go everywhere yet.
I tried to get it done when I was coming home from the tag office and couldn't find a store that was doing it. And so, much to Jarrett's theory, you try to find that hole-in-the-wall convenience store. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, found a hole-in-the-wall convenience store that had not only, holy crap, the sugar in this.
Is it more than normal?
Yes.
They jacked up the sugar content in the melon Mountain Dew?
Yes. Major Melon has been found in addition to Major Melon Zero Sugar.
So you're going to have a major melon day because you've got your one sugar drink and now your zero drink for later.
So, but that's my question is, do you want me to sample each here on the show to give you the opinions of each?
No. If you get to the non-sugar one, that's great. But you need the sugar, you need the caffeine to put in a good performance today.
So
yes, John uses performance-enhancing drinks.
PEDs. There you go.
Yes.
Performance-enhancing drinks.
Yes.
So just to give the nutritional value, the total carbs in this major melon, 73 grams, basically 1/4 of your RDA. Total sugars, 73 grams. 73 grams of sugar is 146% of your recommended daily allowance. Holy crap.
That's like twice as much as the Red Bull that I'm having.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is crack open this charged with watermelon flavor and other natural flavors major melon and give you the instant rundown with this thing. And it scares me considering I suck.
I want your first reaction off a taste. You don't need a big gulp here. You need to taste it and give us a flavor update.
Tastes like a watermelon Jolly Rancher.
That's not bad. I'll bet it's not as good as a watermelon Red Bull, but that's not bad.
So yeah, it has a bit of an aftertaste to it. So
what's the aftertaste? Give us the aftertaste.
The aftertaste tastes like a tin can.
Tastes like a tin can out of a plastic bottle. That's not good.
No. So the initial shot is like a watermelon Jolly Rancher, but the aftertaste, it lingers, and that's bad. So we're dealing with a 50-50 drink here.
So you need a chaser.
Yeah, I need a chaser.
All right. So
I have the original on the off chance that this completely repulses me.
Well, I don't think it completely repulsed you. I mean, you didn't even make a face. Like, usually if we talk about, Brussels sprouts, you make a face like an 8-year-old. You did not make a face this time, so I think you can do it.
It's not all that exciting. I mean...
Well, but it's not all that bad. It wasn't worth all the freaking out, was it?
Well, yeah.
No, it wasn't.
I'll stipulate to that. Yeah,
it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It doesn't set me on fire. I'm not going to buy it again.
That's fine. It's no code red. That's fine. You did good, John. You tried something outside of your comfort zone. I'm very proud of you.
And that aftertaste, that's bad. Yeah, that aftertaste.
Reverting into an 8-year-old. Okay.
No, tastes like a tin can after that first initial hit.
And I think he's already put it away. All right. Well, anyway, let's move on. There is an update on TIC at the moment talking about the situation at Independiente. Independiente's name has come up for a lot of reasons. They owe a lot of people money, which they've got to sort out. But they don't have to sort it out just yet. They might be able to make some moves, and Eric Remedi's name has come up as one of those moves currently. Now, the report that TIC had on their website this morning, 1-year loan deal worth $200,000 and a purchase option that was an unknown price. I think in previous reports from different folks it had been around $1 million. Also last night, Cesar Luis Merlo and Herman Garcia Grova have started an Instagram show, I guess, or at least an Instagram segment that they're going to do from time to time, and that's a great thing, first off, because those two are two of the best in this hemisphere at breaking player news, and they broke a little bit of news, or at least rumor and innuendo, that Eric Remedi could be in demand from the San Jose Earthquakes. Now, we at least according to TIC, we've heard the loan is $200,000. Now, we don't know if they would pay his salary, because that's an interesting element when it comes to MLS rules. If the player is off your books, if their salary is being paid for, they don't affect your salary cap. If you are paying their salary while they're on loan, they do still affect your salary cap. So my question on the Independiente side, and look, that's a very MLS thing. Like if they're reporting it as a loan offer for that, does that include salary? Are you able to make it fit to where it's paying the salary so they're not part of your cap? Because I don't know why Atlanta would loan a player out, keep them on their cap. They want to keep contract control, potentially, to bring them back, but you don't want to have them hit your cap. You want to make the numbers work for that. It only makes sense, and it's been reported on the Franco Escobar deal. I believe it was John Rojas who had this. I'll double check. That Newell's is paying his salary while he's on loan at Newell's. Not affecting your cap, not affecting your roster space at all. So good. I would assume you're looking for the same thing with Eric Remedi. Now, if he goes to San Jose, then it's a completely different conversation because it would be a move to San Jose. My question would be, do you care about keeping him in the league or not? I don't think Atlanta United would. I mean, if he was going to an Orlando or a Nashville, maybe we're having a different conversation. It's San Jose. I don't think there's any concern there. Does he want to stay in the league? Does Eric Remedi want to stay in MLS, or does he want to go back and play for a former manager in Falcioni at Independiente? Who wants him? The reporting out of Argentina is that Eric Remedi is Falcioni's first choice. That's who he wants. And Independiente wants to make their new manager happy. They want to go get who he wants. What does Eric want to do in this situation? And that's going to play a role in this. If he wants to stay in the United States, San Jose is probably where he'll end up. If he's happy to go back to Argentina and play for a former manager, I think he ends up at Independiente. But I think Eric's wishes will have a lot to do with this.
Question came in early from Jason Nix, and he wanted to know what's the advantage of looking to loan Franco or Remedi right now as opposed to selling? I don't see them returning to the team. Is it just financial climate, or teams can't afford it right now?
I think it's a little of both. I wouldn't rule out them possibly coming back to the team because you never know. It gives you more time to figure that out. I mean, in Remedi's case, I think, is a little different in that you are allegedly, both players have talked about coming to Atlanta, so I don't know how allegedly we're talking about at this point, but allegedly Sosa and Ibarra coming into the team in that position. It's a little bit harder for Remedi to then beat out a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old that are now on the roster in addition to who's already there. Could things change where other guys who are in spots are not there in a year? Yeah. And you might be having a different conversation. It pushes it down the road for you to make that final decision on, is this player going to be with us in the future or not? And I do think, especially when we're talking about Newell's and Independiente, they don't have the money right now to pay that larger transfer fee. Will they in a year? Who knows? They might not, but it at least gives you time and it gives them time. And it gives the player time to see if that's where they want to be as well in the long term. So it's one of those things where we saw a lot more loans in Europe as well in this window. So the financial aspect is part of this. But I think from Atlanta's perspective, it gives you more time to have a say in what happens next. And, you know, let's say Franco Escobar goes to Newell's, lights it up. Let's say you have an injury. I mean, you could have a serious injury. Fernando Meza, if he's on the team and he gets hurt and his career is in question, you might want to bring Escobar back next year and sign him to a new deal. If Campbell needs to go, be loaned out and he's not quite ready yet, Morales I don't think factors in yet, but, things change. And to have more time and more options, the better. But you want to get them off your cap and your roster this year, and that's where the Remedi one will come into question. So I think it's all of the above to answer the question, basically, because all of it factors in right now.
Yeah, because Tafka was asking, could he hold on to hope that Escobar could return?
Yeah, I mean, the statement from Atlanta United yesterday when it was announced was not final. I didn't see it that way. I didn't read it that way. It wasn't a, thank you for your time and best of wishes in your future endeavors. It wasn't one of those. It was, this is the move we're making for now. And that could be a different move you make before next season. There is an option on Franco Escobar's contract for next year that was spelled out in that release. It's funny, they're showing an old clip of Franco Escobar fouling somebody on TIC right now in one of their new promos with a bunch of fouls. I looked up and I was like, wait a minute, that's like Escobar in 2017 at Newell's fouling somebody. Nice. He could be in the team this weekend. He trained yesterday with the Newell's. They play this weekend in their first game in the new Copa de la Liga in Argentina. They play Vélez, and he could be straight into the team. They need him right now, and we know his ability. So I'm hopeful it goes well for him because both of these situations with Escobar and Remedi going back to Argentina, they're not just run-of-the-mill situations. They're not going to random places with random people. I mean, for Franco, this is the club that he developed at. This is a club that has his heart. For Eric, it's a manager that was the first one to really believe in him and really trust him. So both are good places for these guys to be. And, you know, that's the thing about being a supporter and loving the club and loving the players in the club. When they move on, you want them to move on to good places. You want them to be happy where they move to. And for Franco, obviously no question about that. And if Eric ends up at Independiente, I think he would be a trusted member of that squad. And both are going to have South American competition ahead of them in the Copa Sudamericana. Both are going to have the League Cup that's about to start. That'll be the first half of the year, and in a league format in the second half of the year. I know Newell's is still alive in the Copa Argentina. I believe Independiente still is as well. So you've got 4 competitions that they're going to be a part of this year. They're going to have plenty to do. I mean, Newell's could end up playing a max of about 60 games in 2021. That's why they're looking for somebody like Franco Escobar, and Independiente would be about the same, so they could use the help with Remedi. We'll see if Independiente's offer is good enough to beat out whatever San Jose offers, because that move inside the league and the move outside the league have different elements to them in terms of cap space, in terms of all that. You can't loan him inside the league. That would be the thing. If you move him to San Jose, he would be in San Jose. He wouldn't be part of Atlanta United potentially going forward. If he goes on loan to Independiente, you could bring him back after the year. That's where things fall.
And then Mr. Fantastic wanted to know if there was an update on Hector David Martinez's issue.
Not really. Marcelo Gallardo spoke for about an hour yesterday. It was his first press conference of the new seasonal year. And he's in a weird situation. So he talked a lot about, you know, how long he's going to be at River, you know, is he going to commit to another contract, that kind of stuff. And, I mean, he left a lot of things open-ended with that. There's a lot of potential moves with River. There's a lot of moves that are close. Martinez is one of those that's close. Gallardo made it appear like it's all but a done deal. It hasn't been announced yet. River's going to have to make Martinez happy with that offer because he's got a better one in Atlanta. There's a lot of things you're battling, though, and this is why it's not a straight dollars for dollars comparison between the two. Martinez is like Escobar. He developed at River. He developed at that club. That club has a lot of meaning to him, and River's a huge club. And Marcelo Gallardo is a big-time manager. And if Gallardo calls Martinez, and as was reported, and says, "We want you," that's going to go a long way. And Gabriel Heinze is a big name, but there's not the same pull there for a guy like Martinez because Heinze, you know, what has moved around clubs, like he's not associated with the club where Martinez developed. It's a different conversation. So I don't think River has to match what Atlanta offered, but I think they have to show him some respect by increasing the offer, whether it's years, whether it's money, whether it's a little bit of both. They've got to show him that, hey, we value you more than we did when we sent you to Defensa, and we value you more than they were paying you. We're going to take care of you, but we can't match that, or we don't want to match that, or et cetera. Because they've got a lot of moving parts, and Burned asks the question about Nacho Fernandez. That's part of it, because the last offer on the table from Atletico Mineiro was $8 million. River wants more. Are they going to get it? If they don't, are they going to be able to make all these other moves happen or these other moving parts? Because they've got other players they're trying to bring in. They're trying to throw more money to Martinez. They're trying to get a center back from Uruguay. Like, they've got a lot of things going. That $8+ million, that's a big part of it. It's a big, big part of it. The Palavecino deal appears to be done for about 2.7, which is for 50% of his pass, because they can't afford to buy his whole pass right now. They're trying to save some money to spread it around. They're getting Maidana back, it looks like on a free. He's 35 as center back, so they're making a lot of moves, and they're leaving it kind of late. They play today in the Copa Argentina. They play a third division side. A lot of people are, you know, a little bit like, well, what? Is this going to happen? It's not going to be an easy game for River because they've only trained for a few weeks and they're not whole right now. This is not a complete squad at the moment for River. So I don't know. I don't know if the Fernandez move has to happen for Martinez to get a bigger salary, I'd like to think it's not. I think the Martinez move is maybe one of the easiest for them to complete. But if they have to look at it as, okay, we're either going to pay him more money or we're going to take $1.75 million in a sale that Defensa had already brokered, do we need that 1.75 if the Fernandez deal doesn't happen? I think that's maybe the way to look at it. So this is tricky for River. They are juggling a lot of things right now, and the circus is going well. But if one falls, do 3 or 4 others fall? That's going to be the question for Marcelo Gallardo and D'Onofrio, the Presidente at River, and how things move. I don't know where it falls right now. Everything's being left so late that it's like, well, is this going to get done or not? I don't know.
And to answer the juice box question, since you said it was going to be a bit of an interesting one for River, River right now is a minus 1111 in the composite, courtesy of our friends.
Now, hold on. I want you to understand. It should not be an interesting one. The fan survey was, this is going to be trickier than most people think it is. That was on Te'ise. Like, the fans are worried because it's not a whole team. It's not whole yet, but you compare talent-wise, yes. Minus 1,100 is about right for River playing a team, Depro, from the Torneo Federal A, one of the regional third divisions.
Was it Defensa Pronunciamiento? I think is the
that
full
that
name.
Sounds really good, John. Just call him Depro.
Depro. I can do Depro.
Depro.
Depro is a plus 2450.
Yep.
And your draw is a plus 785.
Yeah, ain't touching any of it, but you can watch it on Te'ise tonight if you so choose. Perfect Tommy's happy. Perfect Tommy is one of the is an ancient day River. He's very excited. You got to tell us, Tommy, like what's going to happen here with your boys? Are they going to be able to get all the guys they're trying to? I think they'll get a lot. I just don't know if they'll get everybody. And does that work out to Atlanta's benefit to get Martinez instead of him going to River? I don't know. A lot of discussion on the Twitch pitch about the proper way to fan. Wal Chaudhara brought up a question about it. There's not one. I mean, we talked about this for a little bit yesterday, and I don't want to go all the way back into that rabbit hole, but there's not one. I mean, I think in this topic where Wal Chaudhara brought it up, should you... I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, and I know I'm kind of twisting it, you guys, but follow me here for a second. The question came up regarding Escobar and Remedi, and I guess should you care about what happens to them next? Is it all just the team, and then if somebody leaves, like, boo, we don't like you anymore? I don't think there's a one answer to that. I think there are some players that, the either what they did while they were here or things they said or things they did, like if they came back, you would give them a good cheer when their name's announced. There's some you wouldn't, and that's okay. And everybody makes different decisions on that. For me, both of these guys are part of a championship side, so they have a little bit of extra meaning. I would have a far more warm appreciation for Franco Escobar coming back to play against Atlanta United than I would Yamil Assad. Yamil Assad was here for a year, good player. Maybe some Atlanta fans aren't so happy with him after what he did to Brooks Lennon at the end of that game last year. It was a horrendous tackle. But even before that, I mean, a lot of people loved Yamil Assad, but Escobar did more for me. So, I'm going to be happier to see him. I'm going to be happier to see Eric Remedi. But that's me, and that's not anybody else, and it's not for anybody else to tell you how to feel about him. If Escobar was one of your favorite players and he comes back, cheer him. If he's playing for another team against Atlanta United, cheer him. Be happy for him. If you didn't really care for him, I don't think he did anything to be booed, but if that's where you feel, then have at it. That's the thing. There's no perfect answer to any of this. Feel how you want to feel. Don't let others tell you how to feel. Listen to how other people feel. And if people will argue with you about, well, I think he was greedy and he left and I don't like him anymore and I burned his jersey. I mean, just maybe stay away from that person if you didn't feel that way because they might be a little on edge.
A little high, little high strung, little hot tempered,
little high tempered, maybe a little bit, but it's okay. It's all right. Yeah, and Christopher Abel says about what I said about Assad, like he did score our first goal in club history. Absolutely, he did, and that's always a memory that's going to go down. He didn't lift a trophy, and that changes it for me. That's not Yamil Assad's fault. Don't get me wrong, but that changes it a little bit for me because that 2018 side means more in my book. The 2019 team that won 2 trophies means more in my book. Those things have a little more emotional attachment for me. Again, that's me. It's not right or wrong. I'm not going to lobby you to only think what I'm thinking. No, think how you want to feel. Like it's a fan thing. But if you're happy for a guy moving on and you're happy for them, you want them to do well, be that person. If you don't really care, then don't really care. Like, I like to check in on what these guys are doing at their other clubs. I mean, I'll be watching Newell's a little more closely with Franco Escobar there. I hope he does really well. If Remedi goes to Independiente, I mean, I'll be paying attention to see how he does. He struggled the last couple of years, but he was great in 2018. You don't win MLS Cup without Eric Remedi. So I don't know if you don't get to the place you are. You're not competing for Supporter Shield. You're not in those situations if you don't have Eric Remedi. He was massive for this team. So I'm all for these guys doing well. Some other guys, it's like, yeah, okay, cool. It's all good. Breck Shea, for example. I mean, I never had a problem with Breck Shea, but I don't have the same feeling with Breck Shea. Even after being a part of that 2019 team, he was injured when the finals happened, so it's a different feel. He's only here for a year. He's at Inter Miami. I don't have the same feeling. I just don't. So it's a very personal thing, and feel the way you want. The only time I think it comes up is where you're talking about a club legend and do they get the video when they come back for the first time? That's about it, where it takes it to, okay, this is kind of a referendum now. But beyond that, that's all good.
Tafka says, I don't hold any hard feelings against any player who is put on the 5-stripe kit, but more than that, I try to keep tabs on any of our major contributors. Every player we send out is an ambassador of our club, and they carry with them a small portion of our reputation.
Yeah, I think so. Christopher Abel talked, instead of, when I said that about Remedi, he said, you did have Lorenowitz and Nagby, so you probably could have gone far. Nagby was hurt for a long stretch, and when Remedi came in, he went straight into the lineup because of that. I think where he came in the middle, it was really, really important. He did a lot to make that team what it was. I wished he could have played at that level his whole time here. He wasn't able to. He struggled last year, especially. Second half of 19, he struggled. It happens. Change of air, change of scenery. He could be a different player at Independiente. He could be a different player at San Jose. I think he actually suits Matias Almeida's system really, really well if that move happens for him. I think, too, and this is just another of my personal feelings, in these situations, if a player leaves the league, it's a lot easier to hope that they do well. If they're on a team that's going to be playing you, yeah, it can be a little more challenging. Sure. And that then can turn into what happened with Yamil Assad, where it's like, we love you, Yamil Assad. We always want Yamil Assad to come back to Atlanta. Oh, he tried to break Brooks Lennon's ankle. That's not good. Yeah. Maybe we feel differently now. It happens, or they score a big goal against you or whatever. But if they go to another league, then, all good. Do well. Players will move. And yeah, Chara, players will always move. You're not going to see a lot of guys here for 10 years. It just doesn't happen in the nature of the game in general. It doesn't happen very often. But I think in this hemisphere especially, it doesn't happen too much. And MLS is a league that's in between. So when guys do well here, they're going to move on potentially to bigger leagues or bigger teams. When they don't, they're going to get pushed by new players coming through who could be that one who moves. So you're going to see a lot of movement. And it's just up to you how you feel about different players. Everybody's got favorites. And if somebody's one of your favorites, cool. Escobar, if I was being a fanboy, I would look for a Newell's Escobar jersey because he was that big of a deal to me here. He was huge. Remedi, not quite as much. And it's not a one's better than the other. It's just different feelings, different guys that you associate with, different guys that you're a fan of. It's all good. But players will move. Players will move a good bit, and it'll happen. Gustavo says, I want Remedi to sign with Independiente. That's his team. But he says so he can join Atlanta United later, which would be the loan with potentially coming back. it would keep the door open. It would. That's the difference with the San Jose and the Independiente moves. So keep that in mind as both of those bubble up. It sounds like Independiente has made a formal offer. They are pushing to get this deal done. They want to make their new manager happy. He wants Eric Remedi, which I would assume would mean he'd be a big part of that team. That's good. That's a good thing for Eric. It's a good thing for Independiente. I think it's a good thing for Atlanta United too, because they do have the option to bring him back if his form improves. Let's see what happens. But if San Jose comes in with an offer you can't refuse, well, it's tough. You probably got to deal with that. One more thing on transfers in Argentina. Gustavo chimes in and says, transfers are difficult because the other clubs only want to sell expensive to River and only want to buy cheap from them. This is a little bit about where River is, and we talked about it yesterday. We've talked about it in general, and Perfect Tommy, if you've got something as a River fan to throw in, please do. River was always seen as the club with money. They're not that anymore. They're not broke, but they do have debts, and they do have limitations in what they can do financially. But they still have that perception, the millonarios, the millionaires. They have that perception of, oh, we can ask, maybe $2 million from Racing or San Lorenzo, but River, we're going to ask $5 million because they're the big guys. They can pay $5 million. And River's like, dude, what? We can't do that. And then when River wants to sell somebody, it's like, oh, no, you're desperate. You need to sell. No, we're only offering $1 million. It's like, we want 2. No, we're only offering 1. So River's getting pinched in different directions, and it's tough for them. They've got to continue developing players as they are. Enzo Fernandez at Defensa, he should be playing in River's shirt here very soon. Martinez, I think they've realized that he should be playing in a River shirt. We'll see if they can make that happen. They've got to develop their own guys, and they've got to rebuild their finances, because they're not where they need to be right now, and clubs are going to try to take advantage of that, because River has been a club that has not made a bunch of friends at times in Argentina. Boca's the same way. If people get a chance to stick it to Boca, they're going to stick it to Boca. River's got to continue to work and build this, because they're in a tough spot at the moment, and I don't think they're going to be able to get everything done they want to do, but what do they prioritize, and does that help Atlanta beyond Sosa coming to town? Does that bring Martinez as well? It's still a possibility. My pick for what I think will happen is I think he'll play for River. I think they'll find enough money. I think they'll find an extra year on the contract, whatever that means, and they'll get it done, because it feels like the easiest one to get done of what they have to do. What would change it is if they need that $1.75 million. If they say, you know what, we need the cash from the transfer that Defensa's tried to do, we need the cash on our 50% more than we need the player. Yeah. That's what could change it. I don't think they'll get there, but that could be the element that flips it. It's not as much about the offer. I think River can fix that part.
A couple of other folks have, well, actually on a Wall Pass Wednesday, we have questions all over the place.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Nothing on the transfer stuff, but Colin Martin and a couple of others are asking about the CONCACAF Champions League draw tonight. They're trying to find it on the television.
Yeah, good luck. We went.
I know it's on 2 because I did the search before the show started.
Okay, so we know it's in Spanish. We know it's on 2 NA. It could be on the CONCACAF Facebook page in English. Last year, it was announced to be on 2 NA, and then it wasn't. And it wasn't on any of the Fox networks. Fox has the rights to the tournament. They've got to opt to air this. It seems like they're not going to. They should at least put it on their website or something and make that clear. We don't know. We will continue to try to effort that, but 2 NA will have it. We know that much because John did some research. So you can watch it on 2 NA. For those of you who are subscribers, and thank you, Fender, for re-upping your subscription with us this morning. Subscribers on Twitch, subscribers on Patreon, you guys have a link to our Discord. We will be doing a watch-along, talk-along on Discord during the draw. We'll talk a little bit here in a bit about who Atlanta would like to get, et cetera, but we'll be doing a watch-along on Discord, talking about it, talking about some of the good matchups and all that. And then I'm jumping on with Daniel Feuerstein and Feuerstein's Fire after the draw to talk about it from an Atlanta United perspective, and we'll post those links as well.
FS1 is running qualifying for the Daytona 500, and FS2 is running women's college basketball.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. Then put it online. Put it somewhere. Fox Deportes can't run it because in Spanish, 2DNA has the rights, so that's not an option. But yeah, put it online. I get that. That's fine. But put it somewhere. Don't just not even do anything with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the word to use. Nathan Pugh with his Wall Pass Wednesday question for the morning.
Yes.
He says, a beautiful sunrise with crisp and refreshing air, plus one of my teams stinks and the other isn't playing. So a random Wall Pass Wednesday question.
Okay.
If you could snap your fingers and see someone in concert tonight, who would it be? Give me Tool and crank it up to 11.
Do you know Tool, John?
I know that they are of the heavy metal-ish variety, yes.
Okay. I'm actually a little impressed you know that much. Good job.
They're old. They're not new. They're not new music, so I have an outside chance of knowing who they are.
It's true. I mean, you are in the basic genre, so that'll work. Well,
heavy metal alternative-y kind of a thing? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Stop while you're ahead. Who would your band be that you would go see tonight if you could snap your fingers to make it happen?
Oh, see, I've got a couple.
Okay, you can pick two.
All right. And mainly because there are parts of these two bands that are no longer with us.
Okay.
It is Rush and the Tragically Hip.
Okay. You are part Canadian, it's true.
Well, yeah, that's all that time working for one of the networks. It kind of rubs off on you. I would have said Dire Straits, but all of the members of the band are still living.
Okay. One of mine would be REM because they're not together. I saw them their last time in Atlanta. I saw them most shows they did in Atlanta after like 95. The first time I saw them was the Monster Tour.
I had seats on the floor at the Omni.
Yeah, I was in the next to last row in the Omni. Still was awesome. The other one, I mean, I want to pick somebody a little different because, there's bands that I love that I'd like to see, but if I get the magical genie snapping of the fingers and making a show happen in the age of COVID, it's got to be a big deal. Like the Killers. I'm a big Killers fan. I'd love to see the Killers again. I think they've become an even better live act than they were last time I saw them, but I think I'll probably have a fair to decent chance to seeing the Killers at some point in the next few years, so I'm going to leave them off. Prince, because I never got a chance to see Prince. I mean, if I've got magic genie fingers, take me back to Purple Rain era Prince and allow me to go see that show. That would be the one that I'd want to see. Prince and the Revolution at that time.
Yeah, definitely. Prince was not one that I got the chance to see either, so that would definitely be on the list as well.
Okay. Well, let us know who would be on your list. Thank you, Nathan. That's a good question. I'm going to jump into any kind of music question, so good one. We'll ask Mike Conti in here in 20 minutes what his would be. I'm curious to see what his answer would be because I really do not know at all.
Yeah. Chris Kilroy would like a comment, sir, on the hashtag Longshoe Kangol kit.
Oh, jeez, this has come up in the Twitch pitch as well. Strummer John has went into this too. Thank you, Perfect Tommy, for re-upping your subscription as well. I would like to think that it has zero to do with a hat that I wear, not all the time, but I mean, it's probably my go-to when it comes to Atlanta United because of the colors, because of the scheme. Actually, hold on. We are going to hit this really quick. Ultima Noticia. It appears that they have a deal done for Hector David Martinez to go back to River. Sportia is breaking it down right now, signing a revision to his contract tomorrow. So he's going to get more money, more years, something of both. But yeah, it looks like Hector David Martinez is going to go to River on loan from Defensa. Defensa will still have control of the contract, but it sounds like as part of this loan agreement, I guess both of them are going to have to make a decision when a transfer comes up, which is awkward. But Defensa and River do a lot of business together. So they'll be able to work through that. But that was just on Issei. Hector David Martinez is signing a revised contract tomorrow with River Plate to stay with River. He'll go from Defensa on loan to River. Defensa has 50% of his deal. They have the controlling rights. River has 50%, but it sounds like they've negotiated some element of control into his rights going forward. That's where things stand. So Atlanta, if they are looking for a left-footed center back or an additional center back, they have to go back to the market and look again. All right, the kid. The kid. First, I want to see the whole thing. And just in terms of, do we like it, do we not like it? I know a lot of people have feelings about it. A lot of people have feelings about every bit of merchandise that comes out with every team they care about. And I'm the same way. I get it. I want to see the whole package first. Is it going to be red shorts? Because I'm really intrigued by that possibility. Is it black shorts with red trim? Is it red socks with black trim? Is it black socks with red trim? Are we going all black? Are we going black, red, black? Are we going black, red, red? What is it going to look like? The actual kit, I kind of like. I like it better now seeing a picture of it than I did from seeing the mock-up. The stripes are thicker. I like the red trim a lot on the kit. That was one of the first things that jumped out to me. So I like it. It has nothing to do with my hat. It has zero to do with my hat. I got lucky and got that hat because they had discontinued that style from Kangol. And I grabbed it when I saw it available, and it's only got 3 stripes on it. It doesn't have 5 stripes, so it's nothing to do with the hat. It's kind of funny, but it has nothing to do with the hat. I did not have any say in this kit.
They took inspiration from your hat.
My hat's not that inspirational. It is not. It's funny, but no, it's not.
It is. We were mentioning FA Cup, and Colonel is in this morning. He says a prediction for the Swans Cup match with City today.
Yeah, are you going to be yelling at Pep Guardiola from watching your TV about this one?
Oh, I don't know if I'll be yelling. I'm probably going to have I'm sitting on my hands and kind of rocking back and forth like Leo Mazzoni for most of the match.
Mm-hmm.
Colonel says they go 2-0 up, and we score, then get a dodgy penalty, win it late with an offside goal. Fair play after the reverse duplicate 2-3 win 2 years ago.
Colonel's into the good stuff today. The odds I am seeing are very wide.
Yes. And the numbers, by the way. Swansea is a plus 1620 at home at the Liberty against Manchester City. Manchester City is a minus 588, and your draw is a plus 695.
City's looking for their 15th straight win in all competitions. It would be the longest winning run by a top-flight English side, surpassing Arsenal from 1987 and Preston North End from 1892. Yeah, 15 straight wins in all competitions. Swansea has been very, very good. They are undefeated in their last 8. It should be a fun match. Swansea can push Manchester City, but no, I think Manchester City wins. I'm going to go... I'd like to see the lineup first, but I will go ahead and go 3-1 on it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I
was legitimately thinking that.
We'll see. Other games in FA Cup, Leicester City hosting Brighton, Sheffield United hosting Bristol City, Everton hosting Tottenham. What are the numbers on that one?
Dead even. Everton and Tottenham basically both a plus 175, and your draw's a plus 223.
Everton hosting Tottenham. I do not know what direction to go with this.
Not touching it. Not touching it.
I am not going to be gutless, but I don't know what direction to go. Let's try to figure this out together. So in their last 4 in league play, Tottenham had lost 3 and then won their last one over Big Sam and West Brom. Everton, 2 draws, a win, and a loss. So recent form goes to Everton.
Because Tottenham didn't have Harry Kane. Harry Kane is back, so that's why I'm leaning Tottenham in this case.
Is Harry Kane back for this one? Because he was back on an injured ankle on the weekend. Is he ready to go? Because the talk is Dele Alli could be in line for a return today. I'm going to go Everton, and I apologize to the Spurs fans. I think right now Everton is in a better position to take care of this. Tottenham has Manchester City on the weekend. Tottenham needs more than anything to have Harry Kane at full strength, and if that means they got to sit him today, they got to sit him today. And I know they want to win a trophy, and I know the FA Cup is a big deal to them. I think they got to be a little more careful. So I'm going Everton because of how I feel the lineups will come out.
Okay, according to Football London, Lo Celso remains out for much of the month. Reguilon is also out. Mourinho revealed Dele Alli could be back on the bench. Harry Kane returned, expected to start.
All right. Still going Everton. I think it'll be close. I don't think Jose will get into a fight with Carlo Ancelotti like we saw in Italy yesterday. And we'll talk about that with Antonio Conte saying a lot of things about how he is not happy with Juventus, and Juventus people were kind of trashing Antonio Conte too. Good times in Italy. What else you got on the board on Twitter?
All right, so let me go back to where I was.
And we will get into the music question before we get to Mike Conte, so stay tuned. We have a lot of different takes on that.
Couple from Ezra Packham. Okay. Ezra, first question. What players are you most excited for or excited to see going into the 2022 season? For me, it's Marcelino, but someone who I'm looking forward to in general is Jackson Conway. I know we haven't seen much, but scoring against one of the biggest clubs. That's his first question.
Yeah, I want to see Jackson Conway's development. I think Moreno will be a good fit, and we saw what he could be last year a little bit. I think he's a better fit for Gabriel Heinze's system. I want to see Bello and Lennon in this system because I feel like both of them could end up being perfect for the way Gabriel Heinze wants to play. Bello and Lennon are who I'm really looking forward to seeing.
No, I agree with Ezra about Moreno and Conway. I'm looking forward to seeing Jurgen Damm healthy out on the right. That's another one that was added to my list as well. Second question from Ezra. In our hemisphere, it can really get you some hype and confidence. Sorry, he's blending here. I know I can see Jackson Conway is a really hardworking player, and I think he really can accomplish things in his career. Really happy for the guy, so I'm excited to see what he can have off the bench.
Yeah, for sure.
So is it?
I don't know. Yes, I don't know exactly where he fits in terms of playing time off the bench. I think he'll have an open door. You know, I mean, Gabriel Heinze is bringing him in, not looking at him as, well, he came to the academy. Well, he played for the twos. Maybe he's not ready yet. If he shows he's ready, and he'll play. I think there'll be a lot of games, so there'll be some opportunities for him to play. And if he starts to produce off the bench, he'll play more. So it's really up to Jackson at this point. And that's a good spot for a young, talented, and I think a young, confident player. I like Jackson Conway's swagger on the field. So I think he's got some. I think he's got a bit of an edge to his game. I think that'll serve him well at the next level. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to have to push Joseph. He's going to have to push Alessandro Lopez now for playing time. He's going to have to push Kubo Torres. But he's got the ability to do it. It's up to Jackson how much time he gets this year.
And then Nathan with the Liverpool note this morning. Rob Harris came out this morning and said that Elizabeth Klopp's funeral, Jurgen Klopp's mother, was on Tuesday, which Jurgen was unable to attend. And news of her death has been made public following the funeral. Nathan, in return, says this does not excuse Klopp's behavior and somewhat lack of control in press conferences recently, but it does provide understandable context.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, you're going to be on edge. It doesn't make right the way he treated that one reporter. I thought that was way over the line. But for him to be edgy and upset and frustrated, absolutely. I think anybody can understand that. And this had not come out until after the funeral. There had been no reporting on it. It was not made public until after the funeral on Tuesday. So, I mean, obviously our thoughts and best wishes to Jurgen and his family, and hopefully, he's able to bounce back from this, because, I mean, it's one thing, it's hard enough as it is, but to not be able to travel to the funeral because of COVID restrictions, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. Yeah. So could that put you on edge a little bit more and make you snap at people? Yeah. The excuse making, the other stuff is a different element, and we'll see where all of that goes. But, yeah, that's going to affect you, absolutely.
Last thing on the Twitters comes from Michael Head with his concert choice. And he agrees with you, Prince. He says you'd love to see him again. Saw the Purple Rain tour in Birmingham in '83 or '84. Nice. Such a great show and performer.
Nice. Yeah, I never got the chance. I tried to get tickets to the last tour, which was a really different kind of tour. I mean, it was Prince with a piano and a microphone, so it was not what you might associate with typical Prince. But those shows were amazing. I mean, I've heard some of the shows. I've seen some of the clips. Just amazing stuff because he's an incredible performer. I would have liked to have seen him in his heyday. I was too young. I seem to remember because he would do these pop-up shows a lot. I mean, back in his heyday, he did them all the time. He'd play a 2.5-hour set at the Omni and then pop up at some club somewhere that night. And it might be like the backing band playing mostly, or it might be the opening band's playing, and then he'd jump up and he'd do a bunch of covers and do whatever. But he did one of those, I want to say it was around the time of the Musicology album, like around 99, 2000, 2001, somewhere in that ballpark. Might have actually been a little bit later. I think he did one, I want to say it was at 1150, which was an old club here in Atlanta. And I remember hearing about it earlier in the day. I was working in retail music, and I said it's going to be a madhouse. It's probably going to be, at least $100 to get in. Like, it's going to be insane. I'm not even going to try. Now I wish I'd tried to see something like that. I almost had a chance to see REM like that, and it was a night, like on a Monday in Athens, back in like 2001, might have been 2000. No, it was earlier than that. No, I think it was around 2001, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Prince Musicology thing would have been 2003, 2004. The REM one, it was when I was still in Athens, and it was like a Monday night, and a lot of times on Mondays, I went to see friends at one of the bars. My friend was a manager there. I'd go down there and have a drink, have some dinner, whatever, and I didn't go for whatever reason. And the next day, my buddy calls me. He's like, "Where were you last night?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I was doing something else." REM played at the Georgia Theater. They didn't announce it. I knew. I had tickets. It was some fundraiser that they ended up playing, and like only people in the know knew about it. I wasn't in the know, so I didn't get a chance to see them in a small place. The only times I saw REM was the Omni. I saw them at Phillips. I saw them at the Gwinnett Arena. I saw them at Chastain, which was awesome, and I saw them at Lakewood, and that was good. But the Chastain shows were probably the best, but I didn't get to see them in a small place.
Musicology tour for Prince was April 30th, 2004 at Phillips Arena.
Yeah, I think it was like that night afterwards he was doing some like bonus gig. Didn't go. And then should have stood in line all night to try to get in.
April, June. No, the next night he was in Biloxi, Mississippi at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum.
Oh, he'd play a show. He'd play 3 hours, then and he'd sleep and travel. I mean, he was a madman playing shows and playing music, and I mean, just maybe one of the most talented performers and musicians that we'll ever see.
And then he came back for 2 more nights at Phillips in August.
Could have been that. It could have been that one where it might have been in August. I don't remember. I just remember like hearing about it, and I didn't want to go stand in line and brave it and try to figure it out, and then have to come up with a whole lot of money to get in the door. So I didn't do it, and I wish I had.
The revenue from that tour in 2004 is $75.5 million.
Yeah, because that was the first major tour he had done in a long time, and he was playing a lot of his older songs as well. And Musicology was a good album. That was, I'd say, maybe his last like great album. That was a really good album.
So, but I cannot match your Prince experience. I do remember.
I didn't have one. I just heard about it.
But just missing out on something like that. I remember the Stones had a pop-up ticket sale for a show at the Fox Theater, and they basically just plastered it on like a billboard outside the Fox, and this is like 11 o'clock at night. 96 Rock announces it, and tickets sold out in like 38 minutes because everybody had to walk to the Fox to get tickets. People saw it, listened to it on the radio, got tickets, sold out immediately.
Pearl Jam did that when I was in high school, the Vitology tour. They didn't announce, or no, it wasn't even Vitology. It was before Vitology came out. They didn't announce when dates were going on sale. They announced the dates. They were doing 2 shows at the Fox. They would then announce, because they were trying to keep scalpers from buying the tickets, they'd announce tickets like an hour before they went on sale. And we had, this is before internet, before social media. It was before social media. We were following like message boards on Prodigy to try to figure out like, okay, they announced the tickets, a month before. The tickets went on sale a month before the show, so we think they'll do it this day, or this day. And we nailed it. We knew what day they were going to do it, but they announced it at like noon, and they went on sale at 1 o'clock on a school day, and we're in school, so we didn't know. So like, we get out of school and we immediately like drive like maniacs to the closest Ticketmaster, which was Blockbuster Music at Southlake Mall, or outside of Southlake, and they'd already sold out, and we ended up having to buy scalpers tickets, me and a friend, which cost us a lot more, but it was worth it.
Okay,
Goofiness.
Now, in the days of Ticketmaster, what I would always do, and this was how I got into a lot of the concerts at the Omni. I got into the Zoo TV tour from U2 at the Omni.
See, I like that John is thinking he's going to give you a hack to something from like 1988. Because I already know this because you've told me this. It worked in 1988. It doesn't work now.
It worked in 1988. It doesn't work now, I would imagine. But no, it's just on the back of the tickets for Ticketmaster for an Atlanta show, everybody's calling the Atlanta number. And there were numbers for like Macon, Greenville, and Fayetteville, North Carolina. And you just rotate those other out-of-city numbers, and they were all linked to the same computer system. And that was how I got into all the cool shows back in 1988, was by calling Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Aww.
Hey, it worked then. I still have all the T-shirts. Doesn't work now, but it worked then.
All right. I'm going to run through really quick some of the different artists that people have said, and then we're going to do John's read, and we're going to get Mike Conti on the line. Strummer John, The Clash and Queen, since we went into bands that you can't literally see right now because some of the members are no longer with us. Queen would be that for me. I got into Queen like far, far after that. I mean, I liked them when I was a kid and they were still performing, but I fell in love with them in recent years, and I would absolutely do anything to see Queen at their best. Percy, Ray LaMontagne, and Dave Matthews. I've seen Dave Matthews Band a couple times. I've never been a giant Dave Matthews Band fan, but live, it's definitely worth seeing. Rage Against the Machine from Domer. Outkast and The Weeknd from Ricky. I saw Outkast at Legion Field in Athens for a student show after Aquemini came out, and it was incredible. Outkast, Goody Mob. I know there were some others that were there. It was pouring down rain. Like, the field was like slop. We had some drinks ahead of the show, and we took some drinks into the show, and then we went and had more drinks after the show. And I was a college student and stupid, and I was paying for it the next day. But it was an incredible show.
What was your best way to smuggle drinks into shows?
Usually with the girls.
Mm.
The girls with us would smuggle the drinks in because we'd get busted.
Okay.
Phil Collins from Sean.
Genesis is they're supposed to be touring later this year.
Oh, wow. The Wiggles from G-Walt. The Wiggles. WC Core, Queen, Freddie in person especially, absolutely. Perfect Tommy, Prince at the Super Bowl in Miami. It's still the best halftime show, no question. Jarrett, my aunt got to see Little Feat and Joe Cocker the same night.
Oh,
wow. That's
nice.
Nuts. Domer, Edit, Rage, and Cypress Hill. I saw Cypress Hill at Lollapalooza, one of the years that they were on it, which was pretty cool. Yes, I was trying to change the subject on the kit, Alex Basine. You are correct. I had nothing to do with the kit. Man, y'all are crazy. I am a big Samuel Jackson fan, Perfect Tommy, but that's not where the hats came from. That is accurate, but not the direct correlation. It's because I had a concussion. It's really not exciting. We'll get to that in a second. I think I already know what it is, but we'll get there. Okay, I think we're caught up. A lot of picks, lots of conversation. Y'all are good times and fun, and wow, I can't even keep up with all that stuff that's going on the Twitch pitch.
Awesome.
All right, so now John's all riled up. He's hopped up on watermelon.
No, he's not.
Dew.
He put it down after those 3 sips.
It might have been a better read, but he's not going to go full melon on it. So John is going to tell us about Steve Apolinski, Indicator GA, right now.
Appolinsky and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place that you need to get in touch with, and it is Appolinsky and Associates, LLC. A couple different ways that you can do it. You can shoot Steve an email directly, steve at aa-legal.com. You can get a free consultation by giving him a call at 404-377-9191, or you can go on the World Wide Web. Large device or small, type in aa-legal.com, hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whichever advances you to the homepage, and the homepage shows up with a lot of information about Appolinsky and Associates, LLC, and a pop-up window pops up, because that's what pop-up windows do. Low right-hand corner, it pops up 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Thank you, Chris Hutchison. You can get your questions answered in that way as well. So it is web, it is phone, it is email. Appolinsky and Associates, LLC, and any questions that you have. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in Georgia and Alabama, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, one place that you need to go, it's Appolinsky and Associates, LLC, and the website is aa-legal.com.
About normal pacing. And you didn't get too hopped up on those sips of watermelon Red Bull. Or not watermelon Red Bull. That would be funny if you drank that. Mountain Dew, anyway. 8 is your first one on the board. We will get to more while Mateo dials up Mike Conti to get him into the mix. We'll ask him about his musical selections, if he was able to snap his fingers and see anybody. Because I don't know what his answer is going to be. I don't. I knew what John's was going to be. I don't know what Mike's answer is going to be to the question of the day. What's up, Mike?
What's the question?
The question, while everybody is scoring John's read, is if you could snap your fingers, and we've changed it to where they are genie fingers, and you can see any band you want to go see, any concert you want to go see. Who would you go see if you could snap your fingers? And this means bringing people back from beyond the grave to play.
Yeah.
Anybody you would go see, you get 2 shows that you would go see tonight.
Wow, that's a good question.
Because I have no idea what your answer would be.
Yeah, I had the Tragically Hip and Rush because of members of the band no longer being with us.
Also because John is Canadian.
Ha!
Right. That's about as expected an answer as I think we could have out of John.
There you go.
At least he didn't say like Alanis Morissette.
No.
Nickelback.
No, I would have said Dire Straits, but all the members are still alive.
Yes. Well, I mean, like
that's still cool. REM's mine, one of mine.
We could get really weird and say, boy, it would probably be something to see Beethoven in concert.
You could,
just
there you go.
Say, hey, I've seen Beethoven. And I'm not talking about Beethoven the movie, which is
like not the big Saint Bernard with Charles Grodin trying to catch
the dog.
Ludwig Bond, that dude.
Yes, yeah, the actual Beethoven, not the unruly dog. Wow, that's such a good question. I mean, I'll tell you that my favorite concert that I have seen, and both are still living, was the Dueling Pianos, Elton John and Billy Joel. I had a really, really good time at that concert. In fact, I've been to it twice.
That's one I would like to see, yeah.
I would love to turn back the clock and be 20 years old again as well.
Sure.
Which is as old as I was when I saw that show. I mean, that would be really nice to be able to turn back the clock. Man, I mean, I'm not a fan of the Beatles, but again, just from a historic standpoint, like say you saw the Beatles, and I know there might even be some people watching and listening to us right now who saw the Beatles at Atlanta Stadium.
Yeah.
Was, from my understanding, really one of the first major mega concerts to be held in this city.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people in New Orleans when I was there who still talk about the Beatles coming to New Orleans in 1966 and how that was just such a huge deal because a lot of those mega acts, those mega mainstream acts, would not really come through the southeastern United States at that time.
Yeah.
I'll give you one. I mean, full disclosure, full honesty. I would love to see Frank Sinatra in a semi smallish room somewhere in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
With all the smoke and the...
Yeah, I could do without the smoke, but all the other ambiance.
Martinis
the red
flowing.
wine would be...
Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford.
How cool would that be?
That would be cool.
Yeah. So but I mean, I don't think there's really a right or wrong answer to that. I mean, that is a great question. And I'm sure by the end of our segment, I'll probably think of 2 or 3 more.
Yeah, I've come up with about 10 more since I said REM, again, just because they're my all-time favorite. And I saw them, 1, 2, 3, probably about 5, 6 times. Maybe more than that. But I'd see them again. And if I got to pick, I'd see them in a small place.
Yeah, and I think, again, REM holds a special place in anyone's heart who has a connection to Athens, Georgia, right?
Yeah. I saw REM. The coolest thing I saw REM do was, and I'm surprised I even was able to get a ticket to this, the Georgia Music Hall of Fame induction at the World Congress Center. And it was REM was going in, Greg Allman was going in. I think it was the year that Dallas Austin got inducted into the Hall of Fame. And, it's a Hall of Fame kind of thing. So it's a night where they're talking about the different artists, they're talking about all the old songwriters who are getting put into the Hall of Fame. The bands who are going in play 3 songs or so. So it was REM the first time that I had seen them with Bill Berry since he had left the band, because he came back to play in these. It was a few months before they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it was seeing them in a ballroom at the World Congress Center, which was pretty cool. And they ended it because they did their 3 songs, and it was 3 that you would pick. It wasn't like they picked something completely random to do, which would have been nuts. But they came back out at the end because Greg Allman was the solo inductee that night. And they came back out because the solo inductee always sings Georgia on My Mind. That's one of the traditions at the Georgia Music Hall of Fame induction ceremony, which was very cool to see Greg Allman sing that. But he then stayed, and they brought REM back out, the backing band, and they did Midnight Rider with Greg Allman.
Oh, wow.
Which was one of those moments. It's the only time they've ever done it. It was just crazy to see that in a room with a bunch of people in tuxes and cocktail dresses to see this kind of show. It was nuts.
That would be awesome.
That was cool.
That would be so cool. And I think it would be very easy for my regional biases to kind of show through a little bit, which is one of the reasons why I picked Sinatra. I mean,
that's a good call.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Grow up in the northeastern United States, Sinatra is going to be playing in the background of something, so that might be affecting my perspective as well a little bit. But great question, great question.
Okay, we're going to get, I guess, sentimental then, because Franco Escobar is speaking to the media in Rosario, Argentina. I guess his reintroduction at Newell's Old Boys, and a couple of quotes that have come out. Newell's _EN, if you want to keep up with Franco at Newell's. That's their official English, or no, I'm sorry, this is the fan account, which does a great job. They're so good it almost feels like it's official. Newell's has an official English language Twitter account as well. But the fan account, couple quotes. While I was in a comfortable place in Atlanta, the only place I was going to be happy was here. I did everything in my power to get back to the club. He said, I learned a lot about attacking better at Atlanta. I had the consistency there and the playing time that I craved at Newell's before. And he said, luckily at Atlanta United, they have a lot of people who are fanatical about the club. The atmosphere in the stadium was always explosive. It's a very cool quote. I'm working to be at my best. In principle, my position is right back, but I can also play in the center. I've returned to an orderly club. We're in the Copa Sudamericana, and that shows that things are being done right. It's a club that everyone wants to go back to. A lot of praise about Atlanta. He said, I spoke to the sports director about leaving Atlanta. The truth is, I don't know if Gabriel Heinze had anything to do with the move, because that was a question that's come up. We all thought that maybe this was an opportunity for Franco to be a star with Gabriel Heinze. But it sounds like, as he said at the beginning, he had an opportunity to go home, and he really wanted to make that happen, and it's a big opportunity for him. Newell's could play 60 games this year, and they're in the Copa Sudamericana. I think it's a good move for all concerned, especially because it's a loan, and he could come back next year.
Yeah, and I've been getting the question on Twitter, and I don't know if you guys know more than I. I know a lot of loans most loans, in fact, typically include purchase options.
This one does.
I don't know. This one does?
Yeah, it does.
So
it's an option.
An option.
Yeah.
But Atlanta United also retains its club option. I mean, I think Atlanta United did something to do well by the player, but also do pretty good business for itself, where they're probably going to be able to get something at the end of all of this, whether it's a permanent sale to Knowles or they bring him back into MLS or they, who knows. So I think it's a good piece of business for both the club and for Franco. I'm surprised. I'm honestly very surprised. I'm with you, Jason. We've talked about it a lot. I think Franco was someone who could have really thrived with Heinze. I think from a personality standpoint, they probably would have connected. I think there's a lot of similarities in which Heinze and Franco play the game. So I'm surprised. But I think it also makes things a little bit more straightforward now for Atlanta United going into the season. It probably makes it a lot easier now for Brooks Lennon to start consistently, whereas you might have had a little bit of a logjam at right back. Maybe this clears things up a little bit at center back. It might show you that Atlanta United feels very, very strongly about Fernando Meza. We know they feel strongly about him, but maybe now this kind of confirms that Robinson and Meza would be your first choice center back pairing. I don't know. I'm surprised. I thought Escobar was someone who could have potentially been a captain for this team. I think he truly loved playing for Atlanta United. He did a lot of things that were confounding that, I thought his passion kind of got the best of him at times, and that could be a little bit scary to watch in the run of play. But I hope it works out for him. I hope this is something that makes him happy. He's going to get to play a lot of matches, like you said, a lot of meaningful matches. If he was somehow to come back to MLS in 2022, he'll be better for it, having gone through all of that, rigor of the match schedule and the magnitude of matches that he's going to be playing in. It's going to make him a better player. So, but I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised. I thought Franco Escobar was going to be a big part of what this club would do in 2021, and he's not. And that's a surprise to me.
And then also on the board, Mike, yesterday out of South America, Cesar Luis Merlo mentioned Eric Remedi with the possibility of a loan offer. The way that Merlo has phrased it, Remedi already has a formal loan offer from Independiente, but a competitor appeared, and this is Merlo's language, the San Jose Earthquakes, also looking at the possibility of Eric Remedi. So Eric Remedi's name is also being mentioned for another location this season.
Yeah, and that makes more sense because Atlanta United has been kind of heavily involved in the market for a defensive midfielder, a holding midfielder. So that does not surprise me at all. I'd be a little surprised if it boiled down to him going to San Jose. It would seem to make more sense for both the player and the club to get him back to Argentina, but I don't know. I don't know what kind of offers are on the table for Remedi right now, but I think that was maybe slightly more expected. And as Jason has been talking about at great length, that position, the holding midfielder, is going to be vital in this Heinze system. And Eric Remedi, quite frankly, struggled last season. Got himself benched late in the season. He's a great player. Atlanta United does not win the Cup in 2018 without him. A lot of people forget the circumstances that brought him into the club. When Nagby went down, Remedi came right in, fit in right away, scored a playoff goal in New York, the first ever playoff goal in Atlanta United history. So, he was a vital player in 2018. He's a good player, but he was not as good in 2020 as we're accustomed to seeing from Eric Remedi. So maybe a change of scenery would be the best thing for him.
Yeah, it kind of seems that way in this case. The San Jose Independiente conundrum could get interesting just based off where things are with cap and salary cap space and roster space. Because if he goes to San Jose, it would be permanent. It wouldn't be like the Escobar move. It wouldn't be like the Independiente move on the table for Remedi, where it's a loan where he could come back. You go to San Jose, it's a done deal. If he goes to Independiente, you've got to get enough consideration, and I'll leave it vague just because like you can do it different ways, to where the salary is paid for by the club that he's going to, so he's not still sitting on your cap and your roster. And that's something that's been reported by John Rojas, that is the case with Franco. His salary is being paid for. There's no loan fee, but Newell's is paying his entire salary under his current contract at their club. So he's not going to count anything on Atlanta's deal. You're not going to loan him to Independiente if he's going to still take up a roster spot and take up money on your cap. I don't think that'll happen. So Independiente's got to hit whatever number that is. San Jose would then be the option if they don't and you decide to move on, but then that's a permanent break. So there's a lot of things at play there. It's the nature of the business right now, especially where you have teams who want to make moves, but Independiente doesn't have a ton of money. Newell's Old Boys doesn't have a ton of money right now, but they want to make moves and get better. They're going into Copa Sudamericana. Got to get creative with these loans and moving money and moving pieces around.
Right. Yeah, no doubt about it. So, I mean, we're just going to have to see. It's like we've been saying, training camp's going to open in 2 weeks, but this process is not over, and they're going to be players out and players in over the next couple weeks. I mean, we already know of a couple of them. One now has been confirmed by the club, but this is not done yet, and this is probably going to be an active couple weeks even once training camp starts. Heinze has not been able to work directly with these players for a meaningful period of time yet. So just as is the case with, the Atlanta Falcons when Dan Quinn took over in 2015, it took him a little while to get the pieces that he wanted for that team. And I'm sure it works a little bit differently in soccer, but I'm sure Heinze is going to have input as he starts working with this team and identifies, here are my areas of need, here's where I need help, and it's going to be an active couple weeks for the front office. I don't think they're done by a long shot, by any stretch.
Concacaf Champions League draws tonight, Mike.
Yeah.
Who would you like to see in the first round as an opponent? Who would you like to avoid as a first-round opponent?
Definitely don't want to see León. Would rather not see Saprissa. I think anyone else, I'll take my chances. That's pretty much where I'm at. It would be incredibly unfortunate and unlucky to get drawn in with León, who is the only Liga MX team in your pot, or I guess in the opposite pot. I don't know how that works. I think they take from two separate pots and they match them, right? Atlanta United and León are not in the same pot. They're in opposite pots, which assures that they could play in the first round.
Right.
Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so they're not taking two teams from Pot A and saying that's a fixture. It's a team from Pot A and a team from Pot B. So, yeah, it'd be incredibly unfortunate if you get drawn in with the one Liga MX team out of a possible 8, that you could play in the round of 16. Saprissa, I just, I don't know too much about their current form. I just know they're Saprissa, and they're a difficult team to play, especially down there.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else, I'd be willing to roll the dice. I've said before, I think it would be fun just from a passport standpoint to get another stamp from another country, whether it be Haiti or the Dominican Republic or something like that. Atlanta United's played in Honduras, Costa Rica, Mexico. It'd be fun maybe to get another stamp. But I would think, this might sound cocky, I would think, at least 6 of the 8 teams in the opposite pot are teams that Atlanta United should be able to handle, maybe with some difficulty, but should be able to handle in the round of 16.
There's quite a few in the other pod that they absolutely should be able to handle. Atlanta United 2 would be able to handle. There's some teams in there that are definitely smaller, but there's some tricky ones. Olympia's one. I wouldn't want anything to do with Olympia in a round of 16. They beat Seattle last year. León, obviously, Liga MX. You want to push that down the road as far as you can. Saprissa, Alajuelense. Those are the 4 that I would not like to see. The other 4, no problems. You get them, it's good. And I guess now the big question with CONCACAF is, CBA done, everything finalized, everything is fully agreed to. We're moving forward. But now there's some chatter that they could push the start back just a little bit because of, I guess, the fear of a delay and start just a little bit later, which would go back to how it usually is in a lot of ways. Like Concacaf is before you play your first MLS game, even with it being pushed back. You'd love to get an easier opponent to ease in. Leon, Saprissa, Alajuelense, and Olympia are the four that scare me.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying they could push CONCACAF back?
No, not CONCACAF, MLS.
Oh, MLS.
Stephen Goff and Kevin Baxter and many others have said that they could push the start back by a couple of weeks, like not far.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah,
I've heard that too.
By a couple of weeks, and we'll see.
I've heard from my sources that the season won't start until the end of April. So
that's more than a couple of weeks. That's longer than I had thought.
Well, it's a couple weeks. I mean, if it was supposed to start April 3rd and it starts April 28th, I mean, that's 3 weeks, isn't it? That's a couple.
Yeah. I was thinking more like, I don't know. It just depends. Yeah, I guess around the 20th. If it's 2 weeks, it's not too bad. If it's further, it gets trickier. But, I mean, you're just going to have to squeeze in games and get them done. Just where it is.
Yeah, it. I mean, look, you're going to have a reduced U.S. Open Cup. Only 8 MLS teams will participate. I mean, honestly, and as much as I want Atlanta United to participate in U.S. Open Cup, they are the defending champions. There is a way where between U.S. Open Cup, Leagues Cup, and Champions League, you can get every club in MLS involved in a secondary competition without overwhelming them. So I think it will be okay. I really do. I mean, what did we determine? It was going to be 34 matches over, I think, 28 weeks.
Yeah, 27, 28, yeah.
Yeah, well, if they started on April 3rd.
The way it would have been, if you had started April 3rd, because you pushed the end back a month, too. So starting April 3rd instead of starting whatever the first week of March would be, you're all in alignment with a normal. If you push back now 3 weeks, it's 3 weeks of games that you've got to squeeze in, which is not crazy. I mean, it's doable. It's not ideal, but it's manageable, I guess.
If most teams are not playing in Open Cup, you're going to have more flexibility in mid-June. You're going to be playing through an international window, but you're going to have some flexibility. Well,
actually, you kind of hit on it, and I think that's your solution. So it's not so much the international window, although you could play through those. Even if you say we're not going to play through those, where you would have had U.S. Open Cup games, you have the other, 19 teams. You try to get them games where you can. I'm trying to keep up with how many numbers of teams we have these days. You get them, the non-Open Cup teams playing when the Open Cup teams play. So that gets you one game back. Second round, you're going to get another game back for a lot of teams. And then the teams who are not playing Leagues Cup, when those games happen in the fall, you can make up the league games on those dates and probably make it all work with those weeks and not even worry about the international breaks.
Right, and you're going to know your participants for U.S. Open Cup hopefully soon enough.
Yeah, you need to.
And honestly, that might be one of the things they're waiting for before they draft the schedule.
Probably.
And honestly, I think it's going to be okay. I know it sounds daunting, but I think, again, let's take Atlanta United, for example. Let's say Atlanta United is in Champions League, but not an Open Cup, and we know they're not going to be in Leagues Cup. So Atlanta United can play fixtures, in that mid-June time frame where they typically have off, aside from U.S. Open Cup matches. I mean, you could squeeze 3 matches in there easily without it being overly burdensome. There's the 3 weeks you've made up from the start of the year. You're going to play midweek fixtures. You can't get around that. You are going to play some midweek fixtures, but it's not going to be 3 matches every 2 weeks. It's not going to be that way. You're probably looking at, I don't know, probably 5 matches every 4 weeks. And that's so not counting secondary competitions. I'm talking about league schedule.
Yeah.
5 matches over 4 weeks. It's not ideal. I mean, you'd rather play once a week, but this is what they do everywhere else in the world. So it'll be okay. Now, where you would run into trouble is, I mean, if we have a situation like we had this past season with, who was it? Colorado and Dallas, Nashville. Like, if you have to park a team for a while, then that could get kind of tricky. Hopefully, by the time they finally get things up and running, whether it's in early April or mid-April or late April, as I've been hearing, hopefully you'll be in a better spot with the virus and maybe even have some of these teams vaccinated where I don't know if there's any talk about vaccinating teams, by the way. I don't know if there's any talk about that at all.
I don't think they could even have a plan yet until they know what rollouts continue to do.
I think it'd be smart.
Yeah,
but
of course.
You can't have an MLS team jumping the line of a first responder or a doctor or something like that.
Yeah,
but if you have to park a team, then that gets tricky, and then you are backloading some things, and that's not ideal. But hopefully we won't be in that situation where we are parking teams like we had to last year.
Yeah, and maybe that goes into another element of pushing back a little bit. I mean, if you are starting games later, you might have some disruptions during training camp, but you need to do whatever quarantine period to come in. Are you going to do a local bubble kind of scenario? Yeah, maybe, but then we're talking like March as opposed to now. Maybe things are a little more under control. And then maybe by the time you start the season, you are closer to being able to get these guys vaccinated and get teams vaccinated and get it dealt with, because then you wouldn't have that disruption. I don't know what baseball's talked about in this vein. I don't know where they stand on it. I know the NBA has said that they've said they're not thinking about it yet because nobody really knows. Like, we just don't know what the rollout's going to be. We don't know what the availability is going to be by the time we get to the start of an MLS season in mid to late April.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if training camp still started in a couple weeks. You're going to have a quarantine period to get players into training camp bubbles.
Right.
So the sooner you can start that, the better. So I would not be shocked if especially for the teams in Champions League like Atlanta United, if training camp did start on time on the 24th, which is 2 weeks from today. That wouldn't shock me at all, but it would give those clubs longer to get players through whatever initial quarantine they need to get through. And it also builds in a little bit of a cushion where, God forbid, if you do have a couple players that were to test positive, you could throttle back to individual work or small group work or whatever the protocols would tell you to do, but not have to shut down your camp.
Let's get an update really quick. I mentioned it earlier on TIC. They were talking about Martinez and River, and Germán García Grova has tweeted out that tomorrow, and this is following up from TIC's report, Martinez will sign a new contract with River Plate, and he'll go through his medical review. River will have a purchase option in a year on the 50% that Defensa bought from them for $900,000. Defensa might make some money on it. And Martinez just said goodbye to his teammates at Defensa. So it looks like Martinez not coming to Atlanta now. River is going to get the deal done and give him either more money, more years, what have you. So Atlanta might be in the market for another center back, Mike.
Yeah. Silly season, right? I mean, this time last year we thought Arzamendia and Villasanti were done deals to come to Atlanta. And you remember those two?
Yeah.
I think we're putting dossiers on them and everything and getting ready and trying to learn as much as possible. This is what happens. Even if Martinez does not come, and it looks like he won't now, and Escobar obviously is gone, I still think you have enough cover at center back. And I would feel comfortable at center back going into the season with Miles Robinson, Fernando Meza, and then George Campbell, Anton Walks, perhaps Bauer, perhaps. And I'm probably leaving one or two out. You're going to be okay. You'll be okay with that. You'd like for it to be maybe slightly deeper with a little bit more experience, but I think you'd be okay as long as you stay healthy. It's interesting, though. It's been a wild couple weeks, and a lot of things that we thought were happening have turned out now to not come true. Some of the things that we didn't expect to happen are coming true. I mean, if you would have told me this time last week that Kubo Torres was coming back down, no way in a million years would I have expected that. So it's been surprising. It's been very, very unpredictable. It was a very unpredictable draft. The CBA, I think, took some twists and turns that were a little bit unpredictable. And now here we are through all of that, and we still have a lot of things that we don't know yet. So, yeah, they'll be in the market for a center back, and I don't know what the global market really looks like right now for that. I don't even know if there's something you could pursue within MLS in the form of a trade. But it would probably – I feel good with where they are right now at center back, but I would feel a teensy bit better if they brought in maybe one more player with a little bit of experience.
We're going to have a lot to talk about on Stoppage Time because people are into the contract situations, the loan situations, now there's pictures of a model with the new potential kit out there, and everybody's got opinions. And
everyone's got opinions.
We're going to have a lot to talk about this afternoon.
Yeah, no doubt. 2 o'clock on the 92.9 The Game Facebook page. And, it's crazy. We've got a lot to talk about, but hopefully we can help settle some of the questions, some of the confusion, because I'll admit I'm confused on some of these loans now and some of the rumors that have been thrown out there, club related and otherwise. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of workshop it and talk it out and make it all make sense.
I'll try to make it make sense, but I make no guarantees. I will try though. I'll try very hard.
Jason, if you can't do it, no one can.
I think I've got my brain around most of these. I think I fully understand the Escobar one now. I understand the parameters on Remedi. The Martinez situation I can explain because there's backstory there that makes that a little more complicated than you might think. So we'll try to make it make sense this afternoon. Facebook.com/929 The Game. And Mike, go listen to some Frank Sinatra because I think I might after the show now.
I will. That's Life is first up in the queue.
That's a good one. Man, that was a good call because I usually don't think of Sinatra like that. But yeah, I would absolutely have liked to have seen him in a smoky room with a martini.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just for the people watching.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good call. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, guys. Take care.
Be good.
Make sure you're following him, Mike Conti 929 on social media. We've got a bunch of different questions and such, and we'll try to hit as many of them as we wrap up. Don't forget about stoppage time later today, and we'll hit some of these that carry over if we need to. U22 talk. That was one of the last ones that I got a chance to chime in on the Twitch pitch. I guess we're still kind of waiting on all the parameters and such. Sam Stejkal wrote about this a little while back in The Athletic and what it all means and how it's going to work with the designated players. I think there's a combination of things that make it a little hard to follow. Let's go back to last offseason and remember the conversation around some teams wanted to change the designated player rules, and people got really bent out of shape about it. And what they did ultimately was say that the third designated player, or one of your three, it doesn't have to be the third one you sign, one of your three has to be, I don't have it in front of me, I think it was under the age of 23 was the way to get it done. So that's one thing that's created some of this confusion because you could only have two, like 35-year-old designated players. You only have two Andrea Pirlos in your team. The third one had to be under a certain age, and I think John is trying to figure it out, and we'll see if he does. I think he muted his clicky-clackiness. So
he did.
Good job. I think it's under 23, which makes it complicated because we're talking about a U22 initiative. Yippee.
Yeah.
Ezequiel Barco's 21. So you're good there if you're Atlanta. So if you're Atlanta, you should be able to sign where they were trying to say 4 U22 initiative guys. This is where the overlap is weird. I think it's technically 3 if you're thinking of Barco as a designated player. Can we get somebody to explain this properly? Because when you don't explain things properly, it confuses the junk out of people.
Yes.
Please. My understanding, because the initial reporting was you could have 3 designated players, you could have 3 U22s. This idea about 4 U22s is because one of your U22s would technically be a designated player slot, not a U22 slot. You could use that where it's not direct overlap. If you sign a 20-year-old and pay him $5 million a year, he would be a designated player. If you sign a 20-year-old and he is under the max threshold for salary, he could be a U22 initiative player. It's super complicated. I want to get everything from the league announced so then we can really break it down. My understanding with what I know of it is Atlanta United would have 3 U22 spots to work with outside of Barco, Moreno, Joseph, who are on designated player spots. That is my understanding of this. And you would see Lopez, probably Sosa, and could be one more. Ibarra could be that. You might be able to move him into a normal roster spot, depending on what you have allocation money-wise. You might not need to. So keep an eye on that. We'll try to make it make sense once the league actually puts out the rule, because right now we're all guessing and we're going off of reports that have been a little confusing. And I don't think anybody's intending to be. It's just it's a complicated thing. I think there's a lot of overlap between that third designated player spot and the U22 spots, and that's leading to more confusion.
So here's how it's listed on the league website. MLS will have the discretion to allow clubs to sign up to 3 players who are 22 years old or younger on a reduced charge to a club's salary budget. Clubs will continue to have the right to sign up to 3 DPs in the new CBA. The league will have the right to limit the compensation for the third DP to the maximum TAM salary unless the player is 23 years old or younger, in which case there will be no limit.
That's the one where it kind of crosses over and gets weird. And I think what people were saying about 2 designated players and 4 U22s was that spot, which it's not accurate to say. I mean, it does qualify if you had 4 U22s and one of them would count as a designated player. It wouldn't be 4 U22 slots. I hope that makes sense. I think I've got my head around it, but again, it's confusing. It sounds like there's no tie, and this is where I think people really got confused by it. There's no tie to if you have 3 designated players, you can only sign 1 U22. It sounds like it's 3 and 3, period.
Yeah.
One, to have 3 designated players, one of them has to fit the parameters that you mentioned. Now, I think you were reading a report that was before things were finalized because you said they reserved the right, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
By all accounts, the right has been done. They're not just reserving it, they're doing it. So my guess is you go into a season with Martinez, Moreno, and Barco as 3 designated players. Barco fits your age requirement there. You're good. And Lopez, Sosa, and Ibarra fit your U22 initiative spots. And you've got wiggle room on Moreno, which you could buy down if you have the cap space and the allocation money to do it. And I think Ibarra could fit into that if he was $3.5 million over a 5-year deal. You could buy him down and put him into a salary spot if you wanted to open up a designated player spot or a U22 spot. That's what I think. I don't know for sure. But if you want to run down a road with different directions and stuff, go for it. I just think that's what we know at this point. And I think we have at least enough of the parameters of this. But, man, could we get a roster update, please? That would be great.
Yes. A couple of other things to catch us up on the Twitters. The news out of Nashville. CJ Sapong has been signed by Nashville as a free agent.
He was a free agent.
Yes. No longer.
Well, no.
Was a free agent, is no longer. He is now in Nashville.
Your emphasis was funny. I'm like, yes, they signed him as a free agent. He was a free agent. So they didn't sign him as something else. They didn't throw money at Chicago to say, yeah, we just like you guys. Here, we're going to give you a transfer fee.
Here's $10.
Here's a Coke and a smile. Here's some hot chicken. I mean, no. He's a free agent. They signed him as a free agent. And you got to give proper respect. The Cooligans broke this news first. They are breaking news now. We're all in trouble. I'm just kidding, Cooligans. You guys are awesome. You really are. You're pretty cool. But you're breaking news, and I didn't expect that.
Barnabas Prime's in this morning with the concert news. He says, saw Elton John when he was here in Atlanta last. Glad I was able to catch the legend on his farewell tour. Also stoked I got into Zac Brown Band's pre-Super Bowl concert in 2019.
That's pretty cool.
If I could have a genie give me a wish, it would have to be Queen.
Yeah, Queen came up a lot from a lot of different people. I totally agree. I watched the Bohemian Rhapsody movie on a flight either to somewhere or back from somewhere in the 2019 season. And it was really good. I mean, I loved Queen before that, and I always loved the band Queen, but that was pretty cool. A lot of times on planes I just read, but for whatever reason I didn't want to read that day, and the movie was available, and I watched it, and I was all sucked into it completely. The Live Aid stuff was incredible, even though they did change the story a lot.
Yes.
It was a fun movie, but yeah, it's not exactly historically accurate. Question from Mazzano, who I think this is the fourth time Mazzano's tried to ask it. It's been a hectic day on the Twitch pitch. Mazzano says, we have seen many changes to the first team, but don't see any changes to the academy or second team. Are there changes that need to be made there to redirect based on the direction the first team is going under Heinze? Or were they closer to that direction than the first team was? I've said this a lot, and I think it definitely needs to be repeated a lot because, not everybody follows the academy and the second team and the development and the story and what they're there for. And I get it. That's your DNA. In any club, if you're being run properly, that's your DNA. Who you are as a club is what you produce out of your academy, what you produce with your second team, which is attached to your academy. In Atlanta, they do that. The second team is far more attached to the academy the academy operation than the first team operation. That's your DNA. You're trying to produce a player who is an Atlanta United player there. You're trying to go sign players who can be Atlanta United players from the outside coming in with the first team, and some guys are directly, and some guys are not as much, and they've got to learn, and some guys don't ever learn. I don't think, and I know people completely and utterly disagree, and that's all good. Tata Martino, Frank de Boer, Gabriel Heinze are not coming from different places nearly as much as you might think they are. Frank de Boer and his soccer DNA as a player and as a coach, he has a lot of crossover with the things that Tata Martino embraced and valued in the game, as does Gabriel Heinze. Gabriel Heinze has mentioned Louis van Gaal many times during his coaching education and how important the structure that Louis van Gaal imposed on a team was and how much he, looked up to it and wanted to incorporate that into his teams to a degree. Well, Frank de Boer was on that team, Frank did things differently than Tata and what Heinze will do in the way the team actually functioned. But the philosophy, and their personalities are very different, but the philosophy is not that different. It's really, truly not. And you have to understand the difference between philosophy, and that's going to affect the academy and the twos more, and actions. Because the actions can change. If you have injuries and you have to change the way you play to get results a little bit, that doesn't mean you've changed your philosophy. It means you've had to change your implementation a bit. Frank de Boer didn't play as fast as Tata Martino did, and not nearly as fast as Gabriel Heinze will. Gabriel Heinze will play faster than Tata Martino did. Frank was more pragmatic than Tata, and Tata is more pragmatic than Heinze right now. Gabriel Heinze is coming into a job that is his first outside of Argentina. It's his first at a club with trophy expectations every season, every competition. That's different. Does Gabriel Heinze become more pragmatic through this experience? He absolutely could. He might not. We don't know yet. There's a lot of unknowns. We don't know. But the philosophy of the three, there are far more similarities than you think. That's not saying the teams played the same way. It's saying the way they think about the game is the same, which you take that the step beyond to what the academy's doing, what the second team is doing. That's consistent. The academy teams play with this philosophy. Does it always come out in the field? No, we're talking about kids, and they might not get it. They might play a team that's better, and they might be challenged with it, and they might not stick to the philosophy, and then they talk about doubling down on it, and they get back to it. The second team, as we saw in 2018, I'll always remember Scott Donnelly's season with the twos, where you had a point at the season where you didn't have any outside players on the right side. You had nobody available. So you had to get away from your philosophy a little bit because you had to put a team on the field. And you played John Gallagher as a right back, and you played a 4-4-2 diamond at times, and that wasn't anything that we had seen with the first team, but it was just a necessity at the time. You learned something, and you learned Gallagher could play out wide in that position, and it gave Gallagher more opportunities. Okay, that sometimes, what do they say? Necessity is the mother of invention?
Yes.
Cool, I got an old reference right. It is. So you have to adapt. But when you went back to it, and under Stephen Glass, we've seen the twos, especially when you compared the twos and Frank de Boer's MLS team, the twos were more aggressive. They played higher up the field. They took more chances because they're playing more to the philosophy than the results. The results can tweak it, and the results can mean you got to make changes, and the results can mean you've got to adapt because you got to win. And the first team's got to win. You got to win trophies. That's the expectation. Second team, no. Second team's development. Academy, even more development. So you don't have to change anything with the academy. The academy's producing players. There is nothing negative to feel about the academy. They're producing players. You got 2 homegrown signings this year from the academy who stayed in the club. You got another one who went on to college and comes back. You've got Morales. You've got Conway. You've got Chol. Chol has the least amount of academy impression on him. Conway is the prime example of what you want. Academy, signs with the twos, not ready for an MLS deal yet, signs with the twos, 2 years there, gets better every year, signs with the first team. That's the progression you love to see. Morales, incredible young talent. You lock him down. You want to develop him. He's 16. He's a center back who's 6'3". You want to develop that. He could become an incredible player for you. He could become an incredible asset to move on at some point. That's what you're doing. The academy's doing its job. The twos are doing their job because the twos are not measured by just winning games. The twos are measured on doing what they did for Jackson Conway, doing what they did in 19 to keep Mikey Ambrose engaged. And you needed him in a postseason game. He was ready to go because of the twos. So, no, the academy and the twos, you don't need to change a thing. They're doing their jobs, and they're doing great jobs. Minnesota's not getting this. They don't even have a second team. Minnesota Academy, they're not developing hardly anybody yet. LAFC is starting to. They're a little bit further back. They don't have a second team either. So they're hitting some walls. That's why they're potentially going to do this deal with Las Vegas and USL Championship. Miami's brand new. Nashville doesn't have a second team. What out of the teams that came in, NYC doesn't have a second team. Orlando hasn't used their second team effectively. The teams that have come in since 15, Atlanta has produced the most out of their academy, and their twos have been the most productive in pushing players through and keeping players fresh. You don't need to change a thing. The philosophy is the same.
A couple of other things on Wall Pass since we're talking Atlanta United right now. Emilio.
One other one, real quick, and Johannes reminds us, and thank you. 2:00, Don Garber will be speaking to the media.
Yes.
Maybe we'll get some clarification on some of these roster rules and things like the reserving the rights to do these things, and maybe we'll get it nailed down on what that looks like if he goes into it today. That's 2:00. He's speaking to the media. I don't know if it's public. I'm not 100% sure if it is a public address or a media address, but you're going to see the quotes from all the usual suspects.
Since we're on team issues, Emilio Corsi was wanting to know if there was anything more on Ibarra and Sosa.
No, nothing else yet. I don't know if those guys are on Instagram or if they are in transit or what. I don't think the pass is stuck. I don't think there's any worry about that. Both have given interviews where they've talked about coming to Atlanta. So, you're kind of at a point where you're just expecting it to happen, and when it happens, it happens. It's not really a rush because we don't know when training camp's going to open just yet. They're going to have to go through a quarantine period, so you can announce it whenever at this point. But both of those guys have given interviews talking about it, so I don't think anything's changed.
Tafka is in the timeline because here's some likely news or a huge oversight. American Family Insurance is our kit sponsor for at least through 2022. Because our kit is designed around the sponsor logo, it would be beyond weird to have some other logo in that spot.
You just extend the lines a little bit. The bottom lines are the same. If you need to extend the lines around something else, that's fine. If it changed after this year, but maybe, Tafka, maybe you got it. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. A couple of other folks have chimed in on their music groups.
Okay.
Will Dickerson says Led Zeppelin for me. That would be a show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nathan Pugh says, since we're bringing back people from the dead, then I maintain Tool, but then they open for Led Zeppelin.
That'd be a cool show.
And then Thomas Thayer says Queen is the best answer.
Lots of answers for that. I might have to listen to some Queen after the show.
And Mateo and Ropes and intern Niall agreed with this grade for what it's worth.
It's former intern Niall now, unfortunately.
Okay.
We were only able to have Niall for a couple of weeks. I hope you listened to his exit interview. Niall wanted to learn more about podcasting. He wanted to learn more about writing. I'm really glad we had Niall for a couple of weeks. It was fun to talk to Niall every day and talk about what I do and talk about what SDH does. And it was fun to see him get comfortable on a mic. It took me a long time. It took me longer than it took him to get comfortable on a mic. So it was a fun interview. That one came out on Friday. Go check that out. He was not happy with Liverpool at the time. I think he's probably angrier with Liverpool now. So
Ropes and former intern Niall agreed with Mateo's grade of my ad read. Mateo gives me a -4 for a clear lack of melon-induced energy.
It's true.
So he gave me a 6.
That's accurate. You should have pounded the melon dude before the read.
No. Bruh. No.
Bruh.
Too much aftertaste. Not happening.
Wah.
We're caught up on the Twitters. What else is going on?
Jordan wanted to know how the Concacaf Champions League draw works. And Jordan 404 joining us on the Twitch pitch, not usually able to listen live. Thanks, Jordan. The Twitch is really started to grow, and a lot of that's down to you guys who are in the Twitch pitch on a regular basis, because today is a prime example. I have not been able to keep up with all of it. I will try when I see something that I'm like, okay, I want to come back to this point, like Mazzano's question. I'll see it and I'll try to pause it. I did that earlier in the show. And then when I try to catch up, I'm going through 500 posts, which is great. That's what the Twitch pitch is for. So you guys are awesome. It's growing and more people are watching the show that way and interacting that way because of all of you on the Twitch pitch, because it's become its own thing, which is awesome. And the Discord is doing that too. So thank you, because it improves what we're all trying to do with this, and we really appreciate it.
I have the draw procedures, if you wish.
Yes, Jordan wants to know what they are. Tell Jordan.
The official draw will be executed using a double-blind system and 4 pots.
Oh, wait a minute. You probably need this because it is a Concacaf thing. Why do you do the hula dance to that?
No, hula would be like
yeah,
circular.
That's so different. That's the Cabbage Patch. It's the
Conca
Minuto con John Nelson.
Draw executed double-blind system for pots. Pots 1 and 2 contain the 16 club names. Pots A and B contain the spheres with the bracket positions for the round of 16. Based on the 2021 SCCL rankings, clubs distributed in pots 1 and 2 as follows. Pot 1 has clubs ranked 1 through 8. Your Canadian champ, either Forge or Toronto FC, Monterrey, Club America, Cruz Azul, Atlanta United, Columbus, Philadelphia, and Portland. Pot 2, clubs ranked 9 through 16. Saprissa, Alajuelense, Atletico Pantoja, Arcaje, Marathon, Olympia, Leon, and Real Esteli. Bracket positions divided into A1 through 8 and B1 through 8. The draw begins by randomly selecting a sphere from pot 1, followed by a sphere from pot A to confirm the club's bracket position.
Okay.
Same process applies for the remaining clubs in pot 1, followed by a bracket position to pot A. Then pot 1 is cleared, and then you have pot 2 going into pot B. At the end of the draw, the round of 16 matchups get 1 club from each pot and no more than 1 club from each country. As per competition regulations, clubs from the same country cannot face each other in the round of 16.
So, John probably could have translated that. You're going to pull a team from the pot A, which Atlanta's in. You're going to then put them into the bracket spot. Then you're going to pull a team from pot B. Then you're going to put them into a bracket spot. Leon cannot be matched up with a Mexican team in the bracket. That's it.
That's it.
That's all you need to know. The way they divide the pots up is based off previous performance of that qualification spot, not that team. That's why Mexico 4, the extra Mexican team, the fourth Mexican team, goes into Pot B. The Canadian team is in Pot A primarily because of Toronto's run to the final.
Yes.
And previous runs. I mean, Montreal made a run too, but Toronto's most recent run to the final is probably why they're in Pot A, bumping that Mexican team to Pot B, which is very tricky, but it could be really weird if it's Forge in Pot A and Leon in Pot B, because that could happen.
And so we'll be watching on at least 2 to NA. Concacaf did mention that it was going to be on their app, Concacaf's Facebook and YouTube pages, subject to territory restrictions.
Which we would have that here because 2 to NA has the right, so it won't be on the app here. We don't know what Fox is doing with it, if anything. They have the rights, but they just might opt not to use them, and it seems like they're not. It's not going to be on TV on any of the Fox channels. Is it going to be available on their website or something? That's up to Fox. 2 to NA will have it in the United States. They have it on their schedule. If they change from that, yell at 2 to NA, and I'll yell with you.
It appears that the director of competitions will conduct the draw alongside Enrique Borja and Oscar Pareja.
Yeah, Oscar Pareja is taking part in this, which is interesting because Orlando is not in it.
Yeah. So I would imagine that we're going to have Deal or No Deal come out at 7 o'clock. You won't have the draw directly at 7 o'clock. We have all the discussions and the teases and all of that stuff. It'll take a little while past 7 o'clock before things get started.
Yes. We will keep you posted. We will be on the Discord talking about the draw as it happens, starting at 7 o'clock in the watch-along channel. All right, finishing up on the Twitch pitch. Burns says, what I noticed with Atlanta United 2, going back to the philosophical question from Mazzano, Tony Annan challenged the young players to figure things out. This was during the time last season when Tony Annan was in charge with the twos, and it was almost all academy guys. He wanted the young guys to figure it out. He wanted them to play through the press, solve problems, which is great. With Heinze, like Tata, like Bielsa, like managers of that ilk, there will be more studied patterns of play because that's what you'll work on, especially in how you play out of the press. There's going to be so much emphasis put on la salida, the exit, how you build out of the defensive third. Gabriel Heinze feels like if you do that properly, and Pep Guardiola would subscribe to this theory, like many top managers subscribe to this, if you play out of your defensive third properly, and that's pressure, no pressure, it sets you up to be successful further up the field. If you don't do it properly, one, you could give up a turnover, give up a goal, or if you don't do it in unison, you're going to be disjointed when you get out of the defensive third, and then if you turn it over in the middle third, you could get hit. So it's all about la salida. It's all about the exit. That's going to be critical. With the academy and with the twos, and this is where they are in different areas of the pyramid, you're going to always try to build out of the back. No questions asked. I don't want you to go long. I know you're under pressure. I don't care. Sort it out. And we'll talk about what mistakes you made after the fact because the result's not the biggest thing. With the first team, especially as the year goes on, you're going to see, one, more willingness to skip and play further up the field, but you're still not going to just bomb it up the field and see what happens. That's not how this team's going to play. You're going to have a plan to get out of pressure. If you can't build out of the back because the other team's pressure is too good, you're going to have a plan in how to play long. A lot of times it'll be Joseph dropping with other guys running in behind him, or it'll be guys flaring out into those corners that Brad Gazan likes to try to drop the ball into up against the touchline. You're going to see those things because there's less risk. The Joseph one dropping, if he draws defenders with him, probably not going to play him, but you might play one of the other forwards, the wide forwards who are running in behind, who might be in a less risky spot. You're trying to eliminate the risk there. So you're going to see them build. You will see studied patterns of play because you're going to work on it, because that's going to be the foundation of everything Atlanta does in possession. The academy, the twos, you're introducing those patterns. It's different. You're not expected to be following patterns. You're introducing philosophies there. So Byrne nails it. I mean, that's very key. The results aspect of it is important too. You're preparing guys for that next level because you want Jackson Conway to make the jump from the second team to the first team and understand the concepts, understand the ideas, but be able to then step into a training session and work at it and be better, not have to have it introduced there. That's the issue.
All right, what else is on your mind? Because we're caught up on Twitter, so what else is going on in Twitch Pitch? Anything, and what other news did you want to hit before we go?
The Wrexham deal is done. Finally, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney are now in charge of Wrexham AFC. Took forever to get this thing done, but it's done. So keep an eye on Wrexham. They are on Twitter at Wrexham, WREXHAM_AFC. Should be fun. Should be a lot of fun with that whole story, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what they do with that club.
And the TV series.
Yes.
The documentary.
Yes. Gustavo, following up on the philosophy discussion, he says, even if most of the academy players can't get a spot as Atlanta United starters, they could go to other teams with an established soccer philosophy, training discipline, competitive environment that Atlanta United is selling. Atlanta United sells its soccer culture. In a perfect world, and it's not one, as we know, but in a perfect world, what happens is in the Southeast, we saw it with Patrick Okonkwo. Didn't make it. Didn't get to that level with the first team. He went to Chattanooga Red Wolves last year for a while. Guys who don't make it, we see them go on to college. And I mean, I've talked to college coaches about this. They know when they get an Atlanta United Academy player who doesn't go pro and goes into the college game, they know what they're getting. They're getting a player who knows how to play the game. And they become very important in spreading that to the other players in the team. Guys who were not looked at as pro prospects have gone on and went into like Georgia State, for example, and done really, really well. Georgia Southern, Ahaji Tambadou, was a player from the original Atlanta United training or academy sides and didn't have a ton of time with Atlanta United. But he had some time with Georgia United. He knew Tony Annan's philosophy. He knew what they were trying to get across. He helped elevate Georgia Southern during his time there. So even on the college side, you get that. But in a perfect world, you see Atlanta United products, whether they're going from the academy straight to these teams or going on to college and then coming to these teams, go to Tormenta, go to Greenville, go to Chattanooga, go to Birmingham, and start to spread that philosophy further and further. That's what I'm looking forward to. No four-card. I didn't fire Niall. He had to go back to school.
Yeah, it's like when school opens back up, you got to go back.
We don't have a homegrown contract system at Soccer Down here, unfortunately. Niall had to go back to school. Sorry. I would have liked to have kept Niall. Niall was great, but he had to go back to school. Uncle No Pockets bought his first watermelon Red Bull last night. That's awesome. Cheers, my friend.
There you go.
J-Dub wants Twitch Pitch shirts in the Soccer Down Here store. I like it. We can figure this out.
There you go.
Joe Bost wants to clone me, which is not possible, and nobody wants that. Turner Kirby wants stoppage time on Twitch, and we've got to figure that out. With 92.9, it's a little tricky because Dukes and Bell is on Twitch. We would have to have like a stoppage time channel on Twitch.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure these things out. Maybe it gets aired on Twitch later as a recording. I don't know exactly. With Soccer Down Here, I can make a decision and just do it. With 92.9, I can't. And you guys know that. I mean, it's a corporate entity. Like, soccer's part of a lot of things. It's got to fit. Like, it's everything we do. So, we're going to, because I'm crazy and goofy and like Argentine football, I think we're going to do some Argentine watch parties for the season starting this weekend. And, I mean, it won't be exactly like a play-by-play call, but it'll be like a watch party of some of the games. The one that I definitely want to do is Saturday with Newell's. Yes. Newell's and Velez, and see if Franco Escobar's in the team for Newell's. So put that one down on your calendar. I think it's 5:20 on Saturday. But we'll post up a schedule. I want to do more of those because it's just fun. And again, I can just say, yes, we're going to do it. Come join us for Fernetti football, whatever we're going to call the thing. And we're going to do it. So be on the lookout for that. That's breaking news. Probably because I've just been like marinating it in my head and it just came out. Lots of crazy conversations about warm balls with the CONCACAF draw. There's context. Monteflo wants a Soccer Down Here superlative, the Bomba de Merlo Award in journalistic relevance. We might have to have a Soccer Down Here awards at the end of the year going forward.
I think so, yeah. I think you're right.
Maybe we have a mid-year report on contenders, but I think it's an end-of-the-year award thing is where my head's at on it. Add that to the list, John. Write it down on one of your 57 legal pads.
Oh, which reminds me, SDH awards.
We didn't get to pick our games this week because we didn't get to do soccer over there live. Who did what last week?
You won with a minus 103.
2 in a row. How do I get I don't even know your system. I'm not going to ask. That doesn't even make any sense. How do I win with a minus 103?
Because the game that you selected counteracted all of the other losses. Is how it went.
Okay, so I got an underdog pick, basically, or something.
Yeah. Your pick of Leverkusen helped you out with all of the other selections. That's what happened.
Yes.
I was second. Get this. I was second with a +1.
How are you second with a +1? That's the part that I don't understand your system. I was a minus.
Because, once again, your pick of Leverkusen counteracted all of your losses.
But I'm a minus.
Yeah, which
You're
means
a positive.
I thought that minus meant that you had favorites.
This is John's system, and he doesn't understand how to explain it.
Well, then if you want to do it the other way, then Jarrett won with a +341.
I don't even know if he did because I don't know what you're doing. How many? What? Let me run through it really fast. We picked 6 games, correct?
You were 1-5. Your one victory was Leverkusen at a minus 103.
Yeah. See, this makes 0 sense. Do you understand gambling?
Apparently not.
I lost 5 bets.
Yeah.
And I got one that was a favorite at minus 103. I don't win the week. I'm having to argue that I didn't win.
Okay, then Jarrett won with a +340.
No, how many did he get right?
2.
He got 2 right. How many did you get right?
2.
How many did Nick get right?
4.
Then Nick won the week. We're going by that.
Okay.
Because you can't control the amount of the dollar figures at all. I told you.
Okay, well then.
The way to do it, write this down on the legal pad too. Do it like a bookie would do it. So we're making $100 juice box options on each pick because that's the number you're giving us, right?
No, I was giving you the composite from Odds Portal is what I was giving.
What is what does that mean? The composite from Odds Portal.
Basically, it's 12.
No. What does the
bookmakers? 12 different bookmakers, and they come up with that number.
My head is exploding internally. I understand that. You're giving us a number. What does the actual number mean, bookie man?
The actual number is that when you picked Leverkusen was a minus 103 going up against Stuttgart. You picked them to win.
So, no, I won 97 juice boxes.
Oh, okay.
If I had to bet... Actually, no, let me figure it out.
You won 103. If it was a plus 100, you'd win 103.
If it was a plus 103, I would have won 103. I would have had to bet 103 to win 100. So you would have to do math. That's going to be difficult for you, I can tell.
Yes.
Anyway, there were 5 other picks I made that I lost.
Uh-huh.
Do you think the bookie gives you just... Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we don't care. Here's your money back. So I lost 500, and then I had to put up 103 to get 100. So you can do the math and figure that out. Nick got 4 right and missed 2. And however much he got in his 4, I would assume, unless he picked, because I didn't win anything with what I got, because I'm in a big negative. Nick would have probably won.
Actually, no, you're not. You're like a minus 16.
No, I lost. No. I'm sorry. John doesn't understand math or gambling or bookies or anything. And this is insanity. No, I would have lost 5, which would have been 500. Or if I'd picked favorites, you could do it that way.
Oh, I was going straight by the number as opposed to
100. You don't know what you're talking about. And you just keep saying the same thing over and over again.
All right. I was going by the actual number that was posted, not the 100 that was invested in each game. Again,
John, you are the bookie in this. Yes?
Sure. I'm a very bad bookie, apparently.
Yeah, you'd have no business because you'd just be giving money away. Because you wouldn't even take somebody's money if they missed a bet. Do you understand that concept?
Sure.
Do you?
What? That apparently I'm doing this wrong? Apparently so.
No, there's no apparently. You are absolutely doing it wrong.
But so Nick was 4-2.
No, okay, stop. I want to
What?
break this down so you understand it really quickly. And anybody else who's had questions about the gambling element that we talk about from time to time, I hope will understand this. And some of you who do are probably screaming like I am internally. I placed 6 wagers. We're going to start with mine, all right?
Sure.
I picked 6 games.
Right. So that's
What? No,
600.
stop. We're going to do it this way because this is the easiest way for you to understand. Okay. What was the first one I picked?
Inter beating Juve in the Coppa Italia.
What was the number attached to it?
Plus 146.
So I picked 100. I didn't win it, so I lost $100. Juice boxes.
Okay.
Second one. What the hell? Why is that? Oh, okay. What would you do if you're the bookie? Would you give me my 100 back?
I was going at the plus 146. I wasn't going at the 100.
No. So you would have just given me 140. I didn't even have to put $100 down, bookie man. Can you start a booking agency, please? Can I gamble with you? Because you're insane. Do you understand what I'm saying now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I lost that one. I lost $100.
Right.
I lost the next one. Was it a plus number?
No, it was a minus number.
Okay, so I lost
Actually,
whatever.
oh, sorry, I take it. No. You picked a draw, so yeah, it was a plus.
Okay,
number.
so I lost another 100. What was the third one?
That was another plus number.
So I lost another 100. So I'm down 300 now. It's not a good week for me. What's the next one?
Plus number.
Okay, so I lost 400. What's the next one?
Minus the one that you won.
Okay, so that's the one that I won. So what you would do is, in this case, I would have had to bet 103 to win 100. So I would have put up 103. So I would have had to pull 3 from whatever. This is complicated. You would have to figure that out. This isn't that complicated, John. You made it so much worse complicated. This part, I'll figure out a formula for you so you can deal with it. So I would have won a little bit back. Not quite a full 100, basically. So
97?
Sure. We'll say that for now. We'll figure that out. So 97. So I won 97 on that pick, but I was down 400.
Right.
So
you're
I'm down 303 at this point, and I lost another one. So I'm down 403. So I didn't win jack.
Okay.
I'm into the I have to give the bookie that money. So I have a bad week. I would have to be trying to find some crazy game in the A League at the end of the week to try to make up for it.
The Hawaii football midnight.
Yes,
kickoff?
I would be looking for Timmy Chang throwing touchdowns all over the place to try to make up for that. That's how it works. Do you understand now?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't.
So you're at plus. You were at plus 403.
No, I was not plus 4. How am I plus? I lost 403.
Or minus 403. Whatever, dude. I thought minus 403 was
that's
your,
for a
big
bet.
favorite.
That's all I quit.
So you're down $403. Put it that way.
That's what I said, and you said no.
So you were down $403. All right.
Yes. We're probably going to have to change the bookie. Unless, as I'm completely messing the show up now because my head's exploded. All right. We'll try to figure that out. People are dying, as I am.
I don't want to be responsible for people's deaths on this show.
It's yeah. I was not at South Georgia United's son's soccer game last night in South Georgia. Sorry to disappoint Mr. Heinley. I was not there. Maybe I have a clone somewhere or a doppelganger.
Doppelganger.
Stuttgart let burn down. There is Copa Argentina tonight, DM Tim. River and Depro from the 3rd division. And River is a minus 1,100. So, John, what does that mean?
Means that you got to put up 1,100 to get 100.
To win 100, correct. Good job. He's learning. He's learning on us. Modiflow, suspicious bookkeeping is suspicious. Absolutely.
Yes, it is.
Ragamuffin loves you. This will be a 4-hour show to get John to understand this. Oh, my.
Wow.
The good news now, we all know John never engaged in illegal gambling for sure.
Oh, no doubt. No question.
John is so frustrating. He's got Jason talking in oxymorons. Yes. John is the comedic aspect of the show that no one asked for. He's the glue that holds us together. This is why I don't sports gamble. I needed to explain like a 5-year-old. System sounds rigged. John is doing golf. Where can I send bookies for dummies? How many under par is he, John? Who gave John this job? That's the real question.
It's the modified Stableford system of betting.
No, it's garbage, show. And you would be a horrible bookie and out of
the
business.
International.
No, it's none of that. We need Niall to handle this. Jason Nix, you are correct.
Yes.
People want to clip the sound of me losing my mind. What is John doing at the moment? Writing random stuff down. Yes. Sorry, I made your eardrums explode. Perfect, Tommy. I apologize. I don't even know anymore. Yes, there you can go to actionnetwork.com and use betting calculators. That would help. Yes, well, burned pretty close. Yeah, I sounded like a machine gun. Yeah, I don't know. Man, there were a lot of people trying to figure that out, and nobody was figuring it out because I didn't either, and I was actually trying to direct it. Yes, you've got to figure this out, John, or you're going to be fired as the bookmaker.
Okay.
We're going to put Jarrett and his animal cages in charge of the bookmaking because I think he can add up the numbers properly.
Probably.
Ay, Dios mío. I got nothing.
Oh, betting calculators. There we go.
You got till next Monday to figure this out.
Okay.
On a very not cool note, I saw it this morning when I woke up. If you are a very Atlanta topic,
yes.
If you know the Midtown area, if you know the area that's almost within walking distance of where I live, the Krispy Kreme on Ponce, which has been there as long as I can remember, burned down in a fire. That's the one that Shaquille O'Neal owned. I think he owns more, but that was like it wasn't like a headquarters one, but it was the big one.
Like the regional headquarters.
Kind of. I mean, it was a huge Krispy Kreme, and I've been there so many times I can't count. Yeah, that location was owned by Shaquille O'Neal. He will, I would imagine, build that thing back in a big way. It had been there, I want to say, since I was in high school.
In
like
its current form,
mid-90s.
because it had been around since like 65, but they rebuilt it.
Yeah.
And renovated it. Yeah.
Well, they rebuilt it again after that, but I think like sometime in the 90s they made it a much bigger deal as Krispy Kreme was expanding all over the Atlanta area. But yeah, it's kind of an institution, kind of a hallmark. So it was a bad fire. Thing was huge. I'm glad it didn't spread any more than I thought it looked like it was going to. But yeah, that's not cool. But I think Shaq will be able to build this thing back up in a big way. Shaq does pretty well for himself, but it's a shame that it doesn't. As Thomas Joanne says, it used to be the facility that made most of the donuts for area grocery stores. That moved in the 90s. That makes sense because when I first started knowing about it, when we were in high school and would come up to Atlanta to do different things, and we went to it, it felt like they had converted it more from that, like a production center, to more of a like location to go and stop and get donuts and eat in. And they went even more in that direction. Like, it's still big, and I think they produce a bunch of donuts, or they did. But yeah, so that sucks. That's a place I've been to a ton of times. So I don't have a Krispy Kreme anywhere nearby now, and I don't like Dunkin' Donuts as much. So that's not cool. But I think Shaq will bring it back in a big way. I think that's it for the show. So my head's exploded. I have to go somewhere further to Krispy Kreme now. It's not been a good day. John might figure out how to be a bookie by the end of the month or year or whatever. Or you just need to bet with John. That's just what it comes down to.
There you go. That's probably what you need to do.
I will continue to try to explain that I have nothing to do with the new Atlanta United kit style. My hat had no inspiration for it. I don't think Adidas pays that much attention. Hector David Martinez is going to River tomorrow. It looks like the deal is going to get signed, so you can count him out for Atlanta. We'll see what they do in response. And I think that is pretty much it for the day. Eric Rometti will keep you posted. We don't know if he's going to go to Independiente or if he's going to go to the San Jose Earthquakes. That's it. So stoppage time today, 2 o'clock, facebook.com/929thegame. 7 o'clock on the Discord, we will be chatting about the whole Concacaf Champions League draw experience. And with a, I guess, virtual remote kind of draw, things could get really weird with Concacaf doing that. I don't know if a coach or a president of a club is going to turn into a cat on the Zoom. It could. There is no telling with all of this. I hope all these Zoom calls are ready to go with the Dominican Republic and Haiti and Mexico and the United States and Canada and all the madness. So all that will be coming. Jordan, if you are a subscriber on the Twitch, if you are a subscriber on Patreon, either one, you get an invite to our Discord. I know with Twitch, if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, for example, you have a gaming subscription you can give out. So the Discord is for all of our subscribers. That's at 7 o'clock. If you are a subscriber and you have not gotten an invite, shoot me a message on Twitter at Longshoe. That's the fastest way to get a hold of me. And let me know so I can get you that invite ahead of 7 o'clock. And then after the draw, I'll be on with Daniel Feuerstein and Feuerstein's Fire with, I think, reps from Stumptown Footy in Portland. I don't know who it is in Columbus, but somebody from the crew. All the MLS teams we represent, and we'll be chatting about everything going on with the draw. That's tonight. Rest of the day, enjoy it. You got FA Cup, you got Coppa Italia, you got games in Spain, you got games in France, you got Copa Argentina tonight as well. River Plate and Depro, we'll be talking about that. Y'all have a good rest of the day. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.